You got it?
You got it? This is why I need help. All right, Colorado State University acknowledges with respect that the land we are on today is the traditional and ancestral homelands of the Arapaho, Cheyenne, and Ute nations and peoples. This was also a site of trade, gathering, and healing for numerous other native tribes. We recognize the indigenous people as original stewards of this land and all relatives within it. All these words of acknowledgement are spoken and heard, and the ties nations have to the traditional homelands are renewed and reaffirmed. CSU is founded as a land-grant institution, and we accept that our mission must encompass access to education and inclusion, and signify that our founding came at a dire cost to Native nations and peoples whose lands this university is built upon. This acknowledgement is the education and inclusion we must practice in recognizing our institutional history, responsibility, and commitment. Next, we have the swearing in of associate and senators. So for all of y'all standing up back there, please come to the front and we will have the newly ratified Chief Justice deliver the oath of office.
Everyone scream one.
There's a lot of y'all. You can come to this mic. I'm not gonna make you go. I can't do much about it.
Ineffective.
Breathe. Breathe. You're doing great. You're doing great.
If you find me the photo, I would be surprised.
Everybody ready? Okay, raise your right hands. Say, I state your name. Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
And now be seated in the chairs.
Thank you.
Lilac.
I have a list of Alrighty, so I do have a list of senators and associates that I was sent by your constituents. So I'm gonna go through that list right now, and if I do not say your name, I'm gonna have you like raise your hand or raise your placard so we can get you on the roll call.
Point of personal privilege, can we get that mic off?
Speaker Ava Ayala.
Here.
Senator Schmidt.
Here.
Senator Kelly.
Here.
Senator Meany. Senator Laffey. Senator Van. Senator Doyle.
Here.
Senator Barrett, Senator Ford,
Here.
Senator Lutz,
Here.
Senator Johnson,
Present.
Senator Bouchard,
Here.
Senator Parisa, here. Associate Winston, Associate, I'm so sorry, Senator Bucari, Senator Tippett. Did I say that correctly? What is it? What is that?
Yes. To be.
Senator Aiken. Here. Senator Lowe.
Here.
Associate Wilson. Associate Salazar.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm so sorry. My bad. Senator Salazar.
Here.
Senator Aslan. Here. Associate Menard.
Here.
Associate Earth. Senator Hill.
Here.
Senator Melchior.
Here.
Senator Schumer. Present. Senator Chacon. Here. Senator Leo Jr.
Here.
Is there anyone I did not call? What is it, sir?
I'm Ben Snyder,
Are you an associate or a senator?
Senator.
Thank you.
What is your constituency mass?
College of Liberal Arts.
Katie Taylor, Senator College of Arts. Need a couple more. In my defense, Senator Wright, Hunter did not send me your name. No. I will put you on the attendance.
Who else was not called?
Associate Senator Abdul. Right.
I think. What was your constituents?
Senator for Liberal Arts.
Is there anyone else who needs to be put on the attendance list?
Have you done associate senators?
I did call your name, however, you did not indicate that you were there.
I'm sorry, I cannot understand a word you're saying.
Associate, Wilson, we did call your name, but. you did
Okay.
not say present. We have you on the attendance now.
Present, sorry.
Perfect. And with that, we go into a consent agenda. Do I hear any dissent? Hearing none, we'll start with gallery input. Is there anyone from the gallery who wishes to speak at this time? I don't know if
Yeah, it's not here. Let me get it. Just use this.
Okay. Just use this one? 53rd Senate, I wish you the best of luck, and I hope that you do what is right for our student body as we move forward. And yeah, just best of luck. Go Rams.
Is there anyone else from the gallery who wishes to speak at this time? Vice President Sandoval.
Hey y'all, hey 53rd. You did it. Also, I want to congratulate all of you for coming back another year. So thank you for your hard work. I also want to congratulate all of the new cabinet members that Vice President-elect Silverheart and President-elect DeSalvo has chosen. I know you guys will, or I'm sorry, you all will do great work, and go Rams.
Is there anyone else from the gallery who wishes to speak? All right. Seeing none, we don't have a guest speaker. Oh, was there one more person who wanted to speak? Kevin? Come on down, come on down. Kevin.
You know, I don't have anything planned, but this is the last time I'll be here. And so congratulations to y'all. Thank you for, taking on the roles that you're taking on. If you're planning on running for legislative officers, congratulations for that too, and for your dedication to this university. Yeah, I don't know. I've been here for 5 sets now. I just counted it. 49, 50, 51, 52, and 53. It's the craziest thing ever. But I'm really looking forward to learning about all the initiatives and the great things that you all will do. Congrats again to the new administration as well. And yeah, all the best. Go Rams. There we go.
Anyone else from the gallery who wishes to speak at this time? Okay, officially saying none, with no guest speakers. Anyone from executive? Please come up.
Hello, everyone. This is my official first executive report as I think it's still technically Vice President-elect. If Rob's in here, he can tell me for sure. I updated my Instagram to say Vice President of ASCSU, and within 2 hours, he told me I'm not Vice President. So, but I'm super excited to be here today. It is not our time to present our cabinet. That will be hopefully soon. And I kind of just wanted to talk about that. I know it's dead week, and I know we want to get moving through this cabinet really quickly, or the Senate really quickly. But I also want you to be very mindful about ratification. I know Pamela had talked about kind of that process last week. And I'll kind of talk about our interview process a little bit. We had over, I think, 50 people apply. We did over 40 interviews. It was a very extensive process. Each position had multiple different candidates, and Nick and myself and Jesse talked for hours about who we wanted to put in these positions. It was extremely mindful, and I'm super excited to present every single person. Our entire cabinet is not here tonight, so we will have to ratify a few of them at a later date. But I'm super excited. I'm super excited to serve the student body and to continue serving works too. So thank you so much.
I'm Nick. I'm your president-elect. Tomorrow, I will be in a Board of Governors meeting, just kind of an introductory thing. We're meeting with the, I guess, newly elected leadership of CSUP as well. We just, I happen to know him. We speech and debate partners back in high school. So the cohesion between CSU and CSUP is going to be very good. It's going to be in a good spot. Additionally, there was a tuition protest planned outside of the plaza at 12 to 12:45 tomorrow. The Board of Governors meeting was supposed to be in the LSC, but conveniently, how conveniently, it got moved to a different building that isn't even on campus. And so if you would like to participate and I guess let whoever is paying attention to the plaza from 45 make your voice heard and tell them that tuition increases are not the way to go when funding a university. I'm currently looking at different ways to, of course, increase state funding for higher education. Last Friday, I was working on a project in an academy I'm doing where sales taxes would be increased by 0.1%, which would be a tenth of a penny on every sale that the state of Colorado collects. And that would bring in an additional $130 million to higher education. In the academy I'm doing, I get to write a bill. Hopefully that's the bill that I get to put forward and the legislator takes it. Because of Tabor, that bill will have to be a referendum to the voters, but 0.1% is not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but it would bolster higher education to the level that it needs to be to compete with other states, because Colorado is close to dead last. We're second to last as far as state investment in higher ed. And so if we want to put our money where our mouths are and say that we want to invest in higher education, then the state has to have that buy-in. So that's what I'm currently working on. And if you have anything that you want me to relay to the Board of Governors tomorrow when I'm there, just reach out to me and I'm more than happy to do so. Very excited to have my cabinet here, an incredibly talented pool of individuals. It was very hard to select, which we'll talk about later. But again, thank you all for being here and congrats on being elected to the 53rd Senate.
As most of y'all can see, the TVs have turned off. Oh. So technically next on our agenda is judicial reports. There is any from our new Chief Justice.
I'm just gonna announce it here. The only thing I have.
You have to go to the microphone.
I'll put it right here. I just want everybody to know for applications, I will try to get those released for the end of May. But that's all I have. Congratulations, everybody, tonight.
Senator Doyle.
I would like to make a motion of renewal of Women's Caucus. Is there any,
Second.
for this motion, we also need a third.
I third.
Alrighty, so there have been a second and a third to renew Women's Caucus for this year. I'm assuming we're gonna move into this little period of discussion and debate on that motion and Women's Caucus. I'm gonna go into a discussion and debate period for about 10 minutes on the renewal of the Women's Caucus. And I'll go to the first page placard for speaking. Senator Salazar.
Definitely not gonna get used to that. So yeah, I'm just trying to kill some time before I motion the previous question. But I think the previous chair of Women's Caucus did such an adequate job in the You Matter Period campaign, and as well as getting menstrual products into bathrooms that were definitely lacking it, and especially into all gender bathrooms. So I'd ask that we all give Addie a little congrats, a little slay moment, because you did such a phenomenal job. And then with that, if that is efficient enough for adequate speaking, and motion to previous question.
Seconded. Perfect. I'm gonna ask Senator Doyle to kind of explain on his motion.
Yeah, so this motion just requires a simple majority vote to be passed, and then the Women's Caucus will be renewed for the next year.
Alrighty.
Motion to do this by unanimous consent.
Move this out of discussion debate first. Yeah, okay. With, well, whatever we were. Alrighty. Since we have motion to approve this question, we are moving out of a period of discussion and debate into a period of voting. We will do this by placard unless I hear something else.
Motion to do this by unanimous consent.
Perfect. Do I hear any dissent? Hearing none, Women's Caucus will be renewed for another year. Alrighty, moving into Kaufman's business, I'll put 2 hours on the clock. So we don't have a parliamentarian yet. And the first part of Kaufman's business is elections of legislative cabinet. Speaker Pro Tem for Senator Aiken.
I'd like to nominate Sandra.
Senator Trout, do you accept this nomination?
I accept.
Thank you. Chair, Senator Salazar.
I would like to nominate Senator Grimes.
Senator President, do you accept this nomination?
I accept.
Is there anyone else who wishes to run to speak for Speaker Pro Tem 4? Seeing none, can Chair Trout and I'm so sorry.
It's just first and last.
Can Sammy Trout and Senator Prizzo please step up?
Pick one.
Ooh,
Pick one.
alrighty. We'll go with Sammy. Sammy, please stay, Claudia. Can you please- Senator Prizzo, can you please exit the space? If you'd like to introduce yourself, do a little 5-minute presentation.
Say less. Good evening, y'all. For those who do not know me, there's a lot of new faces in here, which is really exciting. My name is Sammy Trout. I use the he, him, his series of pronouns, and I am excited to be running for Speaker Pro Tem 4 for the 53rd ASCSU Senate. I've been in ASCSU for nearly 2 years as a Senator for the College of Liberal Arts and chaired the University Affairs Committee, which I was chair for last year, almost to the day. Where am I? There it is. I have extensive knowledge of the Senate bylaws and ASCSU Constitution, as well as parliamentary procedure, under multiple leadership, including 3 speakers and 3 Speaker Pro Temps. With this knowledge in mind, not only do I feel I can effectively run the Senate when Speaker Ayala is not present, but also provide effective counsel to Senate leadership, as well as the Senate as a whole when needed. Throughout my time as chair of the University Affairs Committee, which has been the biggest pleasure of my life, I've learned how important it is to have mediation and a cool head to leave deep and important discussions and conversations. I've also learned when to pump the brakes in a situation when things are quickly spiraling out of control. My priorities within this position is to be a direct support system with y'all, whether that is through aiding and writing legislation, conflict resolution between fellow members, and etc. I believe it's important that the speakers of temp have their fingers on the pulse of the room and when the space is getting tense and when to step in. Additionally, I want to ensure the space remains accessible for not only our constituents, but our fellow members. I have co-authored multiple pieces of legislation within the space that shows this priority is not simply a performative one. While I have many other priorities and goals, I want to respect y'all's times as we have a very busy night. This position is an important one to be filled in, and I'm excited to hit the ground running with this. I look forward to any questions, comments, concerns members may have.
All right, we're going into a period of question and answer. I'm going to open up 10 minutes, and I will start with the first for this record, which I saw was Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Sammy Tremblay. It's good to see you up there. I think my first question is going to be, so the role of Speaker Pro Tempore is like the vice president to the speaker, you're number one. And, with that, one role of Speaker Pro Tempore is to be impartial. And, I've known you for 2 years being a senator here, and you're very active on certain issues, and you have very which is good for the role of senator, very opinionated agendas and all that, which I respect. But this role is very much impartial. And how are you going to make that switch? That's going to be a big switch, right? From being a sense of partiality from being a senator to Speaker Pro Tempore, where it's like a justice or speakers for that. You You understand what I'm
Yes, yeah, I got you. And I thank you for that question. And this is something that I have really thought about a lot over the last couple of weeks. As folks know, I'm very loud in the room when it comes to advocacy. And I think with the knowledge that I have within the space of advocating and how crazy advocacy can get, is being, again, that cool head and going, let's, figure out other options in that regard. With being Speaker Pro Tem, I'm still allowed to have my thoughts and opinions outside of the space, but within this space, I really have to dive into the skill set I've learned as chair, as a committee, and going, my opinions, I don't have any right now. I'm an impartial figure. And so with that knowledge in mind, just putting it into a different field, I feel I can do that pretty effectively, as I feel I've done that effectively last year.
All right, I think that's all the questions I can think of right now, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Senator Lowe.
Hi, good to see you up there. So I know that you mentioned accessibility being important, and if you are elected to be Speaker Pro Tempore, you would assist the Speaker in making accessibility decisions and following those guidelines in cases of, like, let's say, snow days, for example. So how do you plan to kind of streamline communication between legislative cabinet and the legislative members so that way materials are sent out effectively in time? Like in a timely manner, Pete, sorry.
No, you're good. I thank you for that question, truly. I think being in constant communication, especially when there are extenuating circumstances, not only with legislative cabinet, but then other folks, I think is super important. I know there are talks, because I know there are conversations of like Speaker of the Senate or other members of legislative cabinet being also having the ability to send out the agenda. And if there isn't that sort of way, how can we manage those conversations? I think it's really important to also fall back on our experts within the field, fall back on the Student Disability Center who really has a lot of knowledge on these things. I've also learned a lot within those things. I think a lot of the problems, and especially with accessibility, could be solved if communication was more streamlined. And if communication goals weren't just assumed, but they were like taken on of, I am going to do this. And that's something that I'm going to guarantee to everyone now is if there's a situation that needs to have a decision on, or someone needs to take lead on that, that's a conversation I'm willing to lead on, especially when it comes to making sure that materials are out and about in a proper way. And if they're not following accessibility guidelines, saying, sorry, that kind of sucks, instead of fighting it back and forth, because I know that causes a lot of tension within the space.
Thank you. I think that's the only question I have. I yield.
Thank you. Next we have Senator Aslan.
All right. Being in a position like Speaker Pro Temp means that you will be involved in meetings with higher administration as well as our other branch leaders. And as last Senate session, our lovely president-elect informed us is a lot of the stuff discussed in that meetings has to remain confidential. How will you ensure that you keep yourself confidential, even if it's like something that is important or relative to someone that you know?
Thank you for that question. It's a really important question. Confidentiality is something that's really important, especially when it comes to like HR conversations or just really conversations that like, this needs to be hush hush, quiet. And I feel like I can be really not only impartial in those conversations, but also be an advocate in those conversations. If it's about like specific members, anything like that, I always want to be on the side within senators and making sure that they're filled in when appropriate on processes. It always really sucks when there are actually conversations happening behind your back and no one knew that that was happening. And so I think, when we have conversation with administration, or if there's any conversations with a particular member asking, can we inform a member, putting an ad out there, can we inform this member that conversations are happening? Just so that they're not blindsided, because I know that can be really stressful and traumatizing for folks to be blindsided, especially by big powers. But I'll also, with those conversations, I'd definitely be involved with them with Speaker Ayala, which would be a great way for both of us to process feelings on those conversations. I'm very much an external processor. I think that's the right word for it, where like I have to talk to folks with things about like how we feel on things and that sort of thing. And having somebody in a similar boat as me would be really beneficial for me to process those, but also help other folks within that room process those. I hope that answered your question.
It did. Also, being Speaker Pro Tempore means that you are representing the entire student body at CSU. How will you ensure that you are not selective in that advocacy?
That's also a really good question. I think it falls back specifically within our principles of community. I think those are really important, as well as our already established initiative of diversity, equity, and inclusion within the space. I don't think that harms anybody having some more diversity, equity, and inclusion within the space, and having someone who's advocated that for years on behalf of the College of Liberal Arts, which is one of the most diverse colleges on campus. I've had the honor of doing that. And so moving it over from a small group of 750 students to 33,000 is definitely going to be a big transition for me, but it's a transition I'm very excited for, to share with the other members of leadership.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield.
Thanks. Next, we have Senator Doyle.
So Sammy, or Senator Trout, everyone,
Sammy.
Sorry, everyone in this space has, or who has been in this space before, knows you for your very in-depth senator reports. One of the little known or less well known roles of the Speaker Pro Tempore is to provide basically in monthly and like overall report of all the various engagement opportunities around campus. How do you plan on expanding your previously smaller focused senator reports into that entire campus-wide engagement opportunities and even developing new ones for the campus?
Thank you. I really appreciate that question. That's something I started implementing a little bit within my committees. Once a week, I'd bring up weekly resources, and this was a lot of different things. This would be like the Get Yourself Tested program, events that are happening on campus, especially within SDPS offices, what college events are happening right now. So that's something that I've started definitely doing, but it's kind of hard on like a week by week basis. With it being on a more monthly basis, I think that would be beneficial, not only getting a wider scope, but if there are less things in one field, it's not like, okay, well, I'm like kind of scratching at, the bottom of the barrel in terms of resources, because there definitely were some weeks this last year. I was like, ooh, but that's something I'm really excited for. And that's something I'd happily work with like recruitment and retention, as well as our marketing department here at ASCSU. I feel like I'm pretty well anchored in the realms of CSU and a lot of the events that happen on campus. I work with Off-Campus Life, which works very closely with other offices, Student Legal Services, SDPS, et cetera. So I feel I could provide a lot of events to students. I hope that answered your question.
It does. Thank you.
Just to inform you, the 10 minutes per question and answer has run out. So I would look for a motion to exhaust the speakers list. Also, I did see Senator Lutz.
The motion to exhaust the speakers list.
Second.
Perfect. Everyone in favor say aye.
Aye.
Everyone opposed say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? I think ayes have it there. Next on the list, we have Senator Salazar. Oh, 1 second.
I motion to extend time for Q&A by 20 minutes.
Point of order, since we exhausted the speakers list, isn't that we just exhausted the speaker list and we shouldn't like that like overrules extending the time.
Perfect. Senator Salazar.
I'm literally never gonna get used to this. My time to ask you these questions. How do you plan to uphold the university and ASCSU initiatives of diversity, equity, and inclusion?
Thank you for that question. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are ideals that I hold very closely and have led all of my conversations within the space for the last 2 years. And I think moving the conversation from not necessarily less advocating for these initiatives, because that's always going to be my job, but more implementing them within this space, further making sure things are accessible, making sure that we're an inclusive space as well, but also ensuring that if the space is getting chaotic, to acknowledge that there can be a lot of harm done and to acknowledge that, and to take appropriate steps to address those. I also follow the idea of if somebody comes to me with a problem, who am I to ignore it? And so that's within that, I've learned a lot about how to best advocate for folks, not necessarily just for myself, but for folks as well who need that advocate. And within Speaker Pro Temp, I really do feel that that is one of the best spots to be an advocate for members, as well as students.
Thank you. Have you read the Senate bylaws, Constitution, stuff like that? how would you understand your knowledge of them? Taking into consideration that that's what the majority of the speaker pro tempore has said, understand.
Yeah, I have a very extensive knowledge of both of them, both the current Senate bylaws and soon to be 53rd Senate bylaws when those get passed. And that's going to be a priority of mine, is to see the differences between the two and see which new things I have to memorize, that sort of thing. But I'm very extensive on those. And even if there's an aspect within the Constitution or bylaws that I'm not super familiar with, I know where I can go to find those and to quickly interpret that appropriately.
Cool, thank you. How will you use your position to allow for diverse voices and opinions held by those often overlooked, and make sure they're held, particularly the ones that you don't hold?
Thank you for that question. Specifically within chairship, it is not my place to tell you whether your opinion is wrong or correct or incorrect. That's not my position as Speaker Pro Temp. It's just to mediate conversations. And I think going into those conversations, there isn't necessarily a right answer here, is the goal for folks who are mediating spaces. And that's very much how I view chairship, is you are literally in charge of the space and making sure that conversations are germane. And so that's how I would focus in on that, if that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. Can you explain a time when you found yourself needing to remain impartial?
Yeah, so I can reference back to being a committee chair, but also when there are conversations when I've mediated disputes between members, specifically members within leadership and then legislative members. Those are conversations that I'm fairly frequent on somehow, some way. And that's another part where I've learned very much that, like, there's a lot of arguments and discussions and debates and all the things that really, or a lot of tension spaces that can easily be solved by crossing that bridge and understanding where the miscommunication is, where the lapse of communication is. I'm somebody who believes fundamentally that every type of working relationship, personal relationship, etc., has the foundation of communication. And if that isn't there, then the relationships suck. And so really preferencing that when having conversations and making sure, one, folks know like things that are happening, but also being impartial and saying, like, I want to validate your feelings. If there's like, could we consider X, Y, and Z mediating skills within that? But yeah.
Cool, thank you. One last question for you. Have you read through the job descriptions of the Speaker Pro Tempore position, and why do you think you're the most qualified?
Yes, I have extensively read through the Speaker Pro Tempore job descriptions, and I feel I'm very qualified of them, not only based off the administrating and managing. I know I'd be able to do that, but also with my previous experience of managing a whole committee, which at one point was one of the bigger committees until another really cool committee took over that title. But I feel I'm very qualified for those reasons. I'm very knowledgeable on things happening within ASCSU, as well as CSU as a whole, and what's happening at the state level. I think that's really important, especially with the times that we're in, is for folks to be knowledgeable and going, aha, what's happening? How does this affect me? And I know I have that knowledge to help guide conversations and also guide folks when they need the guidance.
Okay, thank you. Madam Speaker, you.
Thank you. Lastly, we have Senator Issy.
I yield to redundancy.
Perfect. I will ask you to step outside and to grab Senator Russell. While we're waiting, a little bit of transparency. I will have a chem class next semester, which will have a test that runs straight through Senate. And so for at least once a month, depending on if I can get excused, I will not be able to chair Senate, in which whoever y'all decide as your Speaker Pro Tempore will be chairing those sessions. So want to make sure, wish I said this before Samuel, but I want to make sure y'all have this idea of who you're choosing what. Anyway, hello, Senator President. You have 10 minutes for a presentation, and I have it up.
Hello, everyone. If you don't know me, my name is Claudia Perizzo, and I will be running for your speaker position for today. So, who am I? I am a second-year student here at CSU, and I study international studies and political science with a French minor. I graduated as the class of 2021, and I was involved in many leadership positions at my high school, such as student council, National Honor Society, captains of my sports teams, such as volleyball and basketball. And so I felt that being able to be in ASCSU for 1 year, I felt that I wanted to challenge myself and go into hopefully another leadership position here in ASCSU. So what do I do outside of ASCSU? I am a peer mentor at the back office. I was also the captain of an IM volleyball team this year, and I was an intramural official at the rec center. So in each of these positions, I was able to learn different types of leadership qualities. So as a peer mentor at the back office, I am able to mentor a group of 16 students, and I'm able to help them get to know just different people in their community, as well as giving them connections and resources to things not just in the back office, but outside and on the CSU community, both on and off campus. As a captain of the volleyball team, I was able to collaborate with other people and be able to not just be a teammate on the team, but also have people know that like I am there for them and that we can just lead them through the games and all of that stuff. And then as an intramural official at the rec center, I was able to talk to different people like on the different teams and be able to show them that I do have authority, but that also comes with grace. And so you have to know how to be able to like delegate being someone's friend, but also showing them that set a presence and you have the leadership on the court, but then you can also help them as well. So what do I do in the Senate? What did I do during the 52nd Senate? So I was a senator for the back office, and then I was also the secretary for the DEI Affairs Committee. And finally, I also collaborated with Speaker Ayala when she was a senator for the College of Natural Sciences to change D&I caucus into the DEI committee. And so that all took a lot of work, and we were able to work together to get that done. And I was able to do just a monumental change in Senate just in my first year in ASCSU and put my voice out there for not just myself, but for the people, my constituents at the back office that I represent. My qualifications. So I was able to read the description of the Speaker Pro Tem, and I also went through that with parliamentarian Kevin Clark as well. I was able to speak with Speaker Pro Tem Kim Cadacena Perez, and we were able to have multiple meetings and discuss what I needed to do, and what also the qualifications I already had to be the Speaker Pro Tem. And I was able to also go through the entire Senate bylaws, read everything, and I will continue to do that so that I am as knowledgeable as possible. And I also went through this with Kevin Clark in the meeting that I have. So what can I do for you? I want to be an adaptable person and not just be just a leadership position, but also be a friend. I want to provide resources and connections for everybody and just know that I am someone you can come to as anything that you need. So overall, my goals for Senate, I want to be a voice for all students on the CSU campus. Since as a speaker pro tem you do have to be impartial. When I was a senator for back, I not only was the voice for back students, but I also kept all students in mind as well. So I want to be able to do that as a speaker pro tem and just be there for everyone and not just for a certain group of students. I want to make sure that everyone in and out of Senate has a chance to do something good with like creating legislation and creating events for community and all of that. I want to take more leadership roles and challenge myself, as I did say at the beginning of this. And then I definitely want to be aware of inherent biases and my identities that will impact Senate, because I am a Black woman, and that is already a minoritized identity. Thank you. But I do just want to be able to represent that in all students and not just represent that one identity. And I want to increase bipartisan efforts, such as talking to college councils and committee and seeing what we can do all together. And that's it.
Perfect. I'll open up a 10-minute window of discussion. A question and answer, the first year placard. I'm gonna go this way, so please keep your placards up for a little bit. We're gonna start with Senator Salazar.
Well, thank you for that presentation. So a couple of questions for you. How do you plan to uphold the university and ASCSU initiatives of diversity, equity, and inclusion?
So as I said before, I am a Black woman, which is already a minoritized identity, but I want to be able to be a voice for minoritized identities and also just the general population and keep in mind all the pillars and go collaborate with like the different offices and different council committees so that we can make sure that everyone is being heard and that everyone is being included as well.
Cool, thank you. Have you read the relevant Senate bylaws, constitution, stuff like that? And how would you judge your understanding of them?
I have read through the entire Senate bylaws and I have read through the Constitution as well. I would say I have a better hold of the Senate bylaws, but I do want to keep reading the Constitution as well so that I can be more knowledgeable and know everything about that. And I'll continue to read the Senate bylaws so that I know everything that's happening and also keep it with me during Senate sessions as well, so that if anyone has any questions during the Senate session, I can have it up and available to make sure everything goes by smoothly.
Thank you. Sorry, I lost my question. Have you read through the job description of the Speaker Pro Tem for it, and why do you think you're the most qualified for the position?
I did go through the Speaker Pro Tempore job description with Parliamentary Kevin Clark as well, but also before that. And I think that I would be a good person for this position because as I have so many different leadership opportunities outside of this, such as being at the Rec Center, being at as a peer mentor, I already have connections to different places. And with those connections, I can also talk to different people, such as my directors and other coworkers and like students who are part of student organizations and be able to get the resources and information that everybody needs and have as many connections as possible.
Cool, thank you. Can you explain a time when you found yourself needing to remain impartial?
I did find myself during the 50-second session. There were a couple bills where it was beneficial for these bills that would be for both my constituency, but also for other students. And I decided that for me, I didn't want to be biased and be like, oh, don't want to just vote no on this bill because it's not going to benefit my constituency. So I decided to abstain because I know that this bill can do good, even if it's not completely good for myself.
Cool, thank you. How will you use your position to allow for diverse voices and opinions held by those that are often overlooked and not often heard, particularly when you don't share those identities?
I will be open to everybody and allow everybody and anybody to come to me for any advice, just either as a friend or as a speaker pro tempore. I want to be able to I want to have a welcoming spirit and just have everyone know that they are able to talk to me at any point in time, no matter what, because I also want to learn about other people's identities and inform myself and be aware of everything.
Cool, thank you so much for your presentation, Madam Speaker. I yield.
Thank you. Next is Senator Lowe.
Hi. So when in the 52nd Senate, when you were working on bringing the bill that made diversity, equity, and inclusion affairs committee to the floor, that bill did not meet the 48-hour deadline. And that bill was very important for like all of us who hold marginalized identities in the room. And that was a moment where like the ball was dropped with accessibility. So I'm wondering how you have learned from that moment and how you plan to like learn from that and really work to include like accessibility and people with disabilities if you are elected as Speaker Pro Tempore?
So I will make sure that any piece of legislation is met with the 48 hours accessibility by like sending out reminders to other senators and associates in their email, like, or reminders in the Slack saying, if anyone is planning on writing bills and presenting that you do send it to the front desk before this day and this time so that you are able to present it. And so that we do not make the mistake of having to read everything in full, and so that everything runs smoothly, but just sending out reminders.
Awesome, thank you. And then my next question, so as Speaker Pro Tempore, you will be a part of the legislative cabinet leadership. So in like the case of like a snow day or some circumstance where the front desk or Speaker Ayala cannot send out the weekly email, how do you plan to make sure that communication is happening between branches and also between members and constituents so materials actually get sent out in a timely and an effective manner?
So I will try my best to reach out to other leadership members and see if we can find a way to send out a separate email, even if it's not from the front desk, or make sure that there is like a backup email, and so, or even add the speaker to that email, so they are the people who can send it out, even if they're at home or somewhere like personal, so that they can personally send it from the personal email to everybody, so that it is there in time for the session.
Awesome, thank you so much. I yield.
Thank you, Senator Johnson.
Hello, and thank you so much for presenting tonight. As we all know, Senate can be a little bit of a tumultuous space at times. And I'm just curious as to what you think your ability is to handle stressful situations, and also just outside of this space, you know, when life gets stressful at times, how do you plan to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, both in and outside of this space, to do your job as effectively as possible?
Thank you. So basically, I would like to, I'm someone who also wants to communicate with others so that they know, like, when I'm having a hard time, if I need to step back. So I will make sure that I'm constantly communicating with everyone that I am working with to be like, hey, I need to take a step back for my mental health. And so I will still do my work, but also let them know that I am having a hard time. So if that is the case, that is the reason why I'm maybe a bit behind on my work. And in terms of the Senate space, I will make sure to just have patience with everyone and give everyone grace, because I feel like that's very important, not to just, because if you show that you're stressed, then everyone's going to be stressed, and that just causes a lot of chaos. So just making sure that that you are calm within yourself, I feel like that will just kind of go out to everyone. And I just want everyone to be able to feed off the energy, but make sure it's with grace and with patience and with kindness as well.
Thank you very much. Ms. Speaker, I yield.
Thank you, Councilor Associate Minotti.
Hello. There will be times where the Madam Speaker will not be able to chair Senate, and you will have to step up to that plate, especially in situations where Senate is a bit more tumultuous. I cannot speak a word. Chaotic. How confident are you in your abilities to actually lead Senate in those times when the speaker cannot chair?
I believe that I'm pretty confident to be able to lead the Senate if we do get into a chaotic state, because I want to be able to have everyone just be all together in one space very calmly. And I feel like if you have a calm spirit, kind of like what I was saying before, you should be able to lead everyone, and just, but also just kind of have like a strong fist as well, or just what that expression is, not quite sure. But just be able to remain firm, but also remain calm is a very important thing to do. And I feel like as Speaker Pro Tempore, I feel like I could be able to do that and allow everything to run smoothly if Madam Speaker would have to step down.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield my time.
Thank you. Next we have Senator Doyle.
So one of the roles of Speaker Pro Tempore is to keep the Senate knowledgeable. Keep the Senate informed about various campus-wide events on, this is redundant, but campus. How do you plan on learning about these events and then also broadcasting that to the Senate?
So I plan on talking to, or just being in contact with different SDPS offices, but also just with other student organizations. And during any legislative officer reports, I would report that to the Senate to say that there are different community events happening that you can attend to, with dates, times, and just the availability of it. And I was also thinking about creating a calendar that would have all of these events on there. So senators and associates could send that in to me. I can make a calendar with all the events and then send it out to everybody in Senate and also the other branches so that everyone would be welcome to go to these events as well.
Thank you very much. I yield.
Thank you. Next we have Senator Lutz.
How has your involvement in the different SDPS offices affected your view on DEI?
So my involvement with the different SCPS offices has definitely broadened my knowledge on different cultures, which is something I pride myself on because I want to learn about everybody and all their identities and be able to learn more and just not know about my own identity, which I want to learn more about my own, but also about everybody else. So going to different events has allowed me to see all of that and just to learn about different people and learn about their character and why they do their things. And I really like all the SDPS events because of that.
Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Next we have Senator Lawson.
So being Speaker Pro Tempore, you'd be involved in a lot of meetings with upper administration as well as with the other branch leaders. Oftentimes what's discussed in these meetings is to be confidential. How will you ensure that you will not break confidentiality even if the information pertains to people that you know?
I will make sure that I keep my job first in those cases. As Speaker Pro Tempore, I just will focus on all of that business because that is what happens in the Senate. And if that's confidential, then it is confidential for a reason. So it should not be spread out to anyone outside of that. And so I will make sure that all of my business stays, all the professional things stay as professional and part of my job and not a part of my friends because my friends wouldn't need to know that.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield.
Thank you. I was the last person on our speakers list, so
Motion to approve this question.
all
Motion to, never mind. I'm so sorry.
all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Any abstentions? All right, we moved as to a period of question and answer. Senator Barzo, I'm gonna ask you to step outside and we will start in a 20-minute period of discussion and debate. I'm gonna go with the first year's record, which I saw was Senator Salazar. Give me a minute, there's a lot of love.
Okay, thank you. So pertaining to these two candidates, I've had the lovely privilege of being able to work with Senator Brizo and Sammy Trout, Sammy in the legislative cabinet of 52nd Senate, as well as collaborating in the DI Affairs Committee with Senator Brizo as my secretary, as my previous secretary under the chair of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I firmly believe that in whichever the vote goes to either, they will send the 53rd Senate will be held in, I don't want to say held, will be left with good leadership. And yeah, I encourage, I don't know, personally, I don't know who we'll vote for, but they're all lovely candidates, and yes, I yield.
Thank you. Next we have Senator Aiken.
Hi, for those who don't know me, my name is Ariadne Easy. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm senator for the Student Disability Center for now the 5th Senate in a row. I've been here for a long time and I've seen the good and the bad of what this organization can offer. Sammy Trout, there's literally nothing this man can't do. He dedicates himself wholly to everything he's ever worked on, even staying up until 3 a.m. because someone needed help editing legislation, or he found cause to write 6 pieces of legislation, 5 of which were constitutional edits in a single day. The Speaker Pro Tempore position isn't one for writing legislation or having opinions, but I explain all of this as proof of the work that he puts in. He's been in this space for 2 full years, longer than most of the other members in this room, and has learned and grown so much over that time. Sammy is one of the few people that knows the rules front, back, and sideways, and one of even fewer who is going to hold firm to them, even if one of his closest friends is the one about to break them. He advocates consistently for diversity, equity, and inclusion, and even when it's uncomfortable to be the one holding true to those values, he will still speak up. There have been so many times, and I know I'm not alone in saying this, that I've been able to express to him that something is making me uncomfortable, and Sammy has helped to work on fixing the issue, even if he has nothing to do with it. He is the first person that so many people over the 52nd Senate came to ask for help or solace or advice, and those are the qualities that are most needed in a Speaker Pro Tempore. Entirely outside of his duties as an advocate, Trout took on his own downtime and combined every single constitutional edit from the 52nd Senate into one document so this organization could again function smoothly, simply because he saw a gap in duties and decided to fill it. Even outside of ASCSU, the places where many members of this organization put their titles down and go back to being regular old students who just want to get through school, which of course is not a bad thing. Sammy spends his time outside of this room, this office, this building, learning and growing and becoming better in every way he can. Last summer, when an accessibility concern with the CSU Mountain campus was brought to my attention, I decided to drive the 3 hours up to that campus and see it for myself. Sammy, with other things to do that day, dropped everything and came with me, simply so he could see what those accessibility failings looked like himself, so he could understand and be a better advocate when problems arose in the future. A Speaker Pro Tempore is supposed to be the person the members of the Senate can come to when they need help, and they're supposed to be knowledgeable of the rules and procedures of this chamber, especially so when the Speaker is unable to fulfill her duties because of a test or a bias on a document or topic. The Speaker Pro Tempore is supposed to be friend and commander and second of this room, and Sammy has proven his extensive qualifications for this job. To say he is overqualified is an understatement. There are other members running that will do fine with the job. I have zero concerns about either candidate, but none can compare to the job that Sammy Trout will do. Sammy will not be fine. He will be fantastic. And after the year we just had, we need fantastic. I will be voting for Sammy Trout, and I urge the rest of the members of the space to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sunderland.
So I think one of the hardest parts of being a disability advocate is understanding what accessibility is, because oftentimes, you know, through the last year and all my advocacy prior, sometimes you don't realize you're biased with accessibility or ableism or disability until you walk right face first into it. I have seen both Senator Friso and Sammy Trout work really hard on accessibility. I have seen how they have grown and how they have worked through that. And so I have confidence in both of them. I am going to be voting for Sammy Trout because Sammy has not only worked on his bias with accessibility and ableism, he works proactively, not retroactively. And that is a critical difference. Recently, we collaborated on the accessibility caucus bill. I can't believe it's not buttons. And Sammy spent hours working on that with me and digging up all of the information we needed to make that bill really solid. Like, he went to Senate that he was not a part of to find the information for that bill. He is thorough, he is kind, and he is very, very attentive when he makes mistakes. I think when it comes to accessibility, there have been a lot of pitfalls this last year. And I think at this point, we need a Speaker Pro Tempore who is going to be proactive and who has already demonstrated a very, very strong commitment to addressing ableism and creating spaces that are universally accessible. And Sammy has all of those skills. He also has a backing where he has taken his own time and energy to research things like disability justice and to research disability studies and to read those experiences. So it's not just a matter of proactive communication. Sammy is really, really learning and understanding the philosophy that the Student Disability Center uses in our advocacy. And for those reasons, I will be voting for Sammy Trout, and I want to encourage others to do so because I really think that he is a candidate who understands accessibility and can prioritize that in ways that he's already demonstrated. Thanks, so I yield.
Thank you. Next, I have Senator Schumer.
I'd like to yield to redundancy, but I'd also be voting for Sammy Cho.
Thank you. Next, we have Senator Lutz.
Hello, everyone. I will personally be voting for Senator Frazel because I have seen her efforts in different SDPS offices. I have seen her tangibly work to better herself in each SDPS office. And I have seen her efforts to try to unlearn the inherent biases that every single person here has. She has been dedicated to DEI, and I have no doubt that she will be a fantastic speaker for I yield.
Thank you. Next, we have Senator Azad.
I will also be voting for Senator Marisa. Through my time here in ASCSU, she has been a phenomenal advocate. She has also managed to remain impartial during times when many people lost their impartiality because she knew that when she had to speak consciously for her community. Senator Pariso has always been someone who is not selective in her advocacy. As someone who has a marginalized identity in this space, I have seen too many people fall through the cracks by members who are selective with their advocacy. It is with this in mind that I will be casting my vote for Senator Pariso because she will be representing the entire student body of CSU, and that person cannot afford to be selective in their advocacy. Senator Pariso has been dedicated to going to SDPS offices and learning about various identities. She has gone to many events across this campus not related to SDPS or anything else, just to see and meet and interact with people. She is a phenomenal leader and a phenomenal voice for advocacy for her own identity and other people's identities. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I yield.
Thank you. Next, we have Mia Ritter.
Hi, y'all. Can you hear me okay? Perfect. So everyone, hi y'all. So my name is Mia Ritter, former senator for the NAC Center, former chair for Budgetary Affairs, and former chair for Diversity and Inclusion Caucus. So I have had the privilege of knowing Sammy for the past 2 years, and we've been through so much together. I think Sammy is such a wonderful person, and he is such an amazing advocate and someone that you can just really depend on for so many things. And, you know, someone who's just served in such phenomenal leadership roles, like within and outside of ASCSU as well, with his work within ASCSU, with his work in off-campus life, and some other variety of organizations as well. And I think Sammy is just such a phenomenal leader, such a phenomenal advocate and ally for like all communities. And I feel that, you know, he's such a dear friend of mine, and I'm a little bit biased. And I think he's just such a wonderful person. You know, he just lights up a room, any room that he walks in, and he is such an amazing person and such a wonderful personality to be around. And just kind of, you know, me as a person, I feel like whenever I get very stressed out, he is always there to kind of help with alleviating those kinds of situations and making sure that you know, the spaces are kind of calmer and kind of, you know, calming everything and everyone down and kind of making sure that everyone is okay. And I feel like with him, he is just such an amazing person to be in a leadership position alongside working with legislative cabinet and, you know, working with him in legislative cabinet this year. He has been so great. And, you know, if I could vote, I would, but I urge you all to go vote for Sammy. He's awesome. And you know, I think that's it for me, but yeah, I encourage you all to go vote for Sammy. He's awesome. And yeah, that's it. I yield, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Associate Minotti.
Hey y'all, I've had the pleasure of being able to interact and work with both Senator Trout and Senator Pariso. Hopefully I'm saying that last name right. No, I did not. But I've seen both of them work extensively to make this space a better place. They are both very great advocates, but also they also have been, to me, they have demonstrated really great leadership qualities. I cannot vote, but I do want you to know that whoever wins this, will have my full support. and that I hope that y'all choose who you feel is right. Yeah, bye.
Do you yield your time?
I yield my time.
Thank you. Let's go with Senator Kelly.
Motion to approve this question.
Second.
We have one other person on the speaker list.
Do I have to?
No. You don't have to, I guess.
Then I'm gonna take my motion.
Alrighty.
So little.
Do I, or here a second, okay. Everyone who approves, say aye.
Aye.
Everyone who does not approve, say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Oh,
Call the vision.
there it is. We're gonna do this by placard. If you do not have a placard, please raise your hand. All ayes, please raise your hand or placard. Going down, all noes. And all abstentions. Oh, I totally forgot about.
There's just one.
Sorry, I didn't look at the abstentions. So I need majority.
The 2/3 is moving to your question is, but because
Yeah, I can go for this. Looking through the bylaws, it does not say anything about needing the 2/3. If anyone has any
What
other,
if,
yes,
is this pertaining to the motion to previous question?
yes, oh, there it is, I see
Yeah.
it.
On the
On the placards, it does say
2/3.
2/3. Alrighty. With a vote of 15 to 3 this does pass with 2/3. If I did that math correctly. Now we move into a time of voting. This will be done by secret ballot. You have all been handed a little sticky note. You will write either, I can put on the names up, you'll write either Senator Prizzo or Sammy Trout on your ballots. You are also able to write no confidence, which just means you do not have confidence in either of these candidates to fulfill the abilities of Speaker Pro Tempore, or you can also just abstain from the vote. So right now I will go around and collect your ballots.
Tell them to DM me privately.
And anyone on Zoom who is able to vote, please DM me privately your vote.
Once Speaker Ayala gets the votes, can I just motion for a 5-minute recess for the votes to be counted? Or a 2-minute recess, so you perceive them to be longer than that.
I'll second a 2-minute recess.
Do you want me to share this? I can.
There was a motion for a 2-minute recess. There's a second. I would ask you to just do it by unanimous consent.
All amendments,
You can just decide. You can just say, is there any dissent?
Any dissent? No motion. None? Great. I'll see you all in 2 minutes.
Remember, do not leave your seat until after all the votes have been collected.
Just stay there. Just don't.
Point of personal privilege, I would ask that Senator Athey step away from the back.
I thought they
to
were
vote
gonna count
count.
over there. I'm just trying to hand her this and then.
All right,
I'll
thank
stand
you.
here. You're good.
All votes have been collected.
Nora, do you want
will
me to
see you all
walk
at
further than
8:03.
this? Because I'll do whatever you want. Do you want me to walk further than this? Because I was just gonna stay here, but. I was just gonna if you move your hands up behind it. That's fine. Yeah. Just so that way it's not there. No one there. Absolutely. That's why I wasn't gonna help them, but I'll figure it out. Okay, but don't forget the Zoom one. Yes. That's why I'm here.
No, you're good. Yeah, I was like, close enough.
Did you tell them we're on break? No, I didn't say anything. Sorry, I just and literally. That's it. I totally forgot. Like, really sorry. You can't be looking
It is 8:03. I'll ask everyone to convene to their seats.
Round two.
Yeah, and I'll ask someone to please bring the two candidates. Congratulations, Senator President. Or anyone from the, yay. We will be now given the oath of office.
Yes, have a mic.
Yes.
Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Claudia Perez,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Perfect. As we are moving on, the next piece of our agenda is recruitment and retention officer. Do I have any closing nominations? Senator Aslan.
I nominate Senator Kari.
Senator Picard, do you accept this nomination? I want to hear verbal acceptance.
Affirmative.
Perfect. Senator Lowe.
I would like to nominate Senator Salazar.
Senator Salazar, do you accept this nomination?
Excellent.
Thank you. Is there any other nominations or self-nominations for retention and recruitment officer?
The personal privilege, can you turn the TVs back on?
Oh my Jesus.
Yes, we will get the TVs back on. I will ask Senator Salazar to step out of the room, and Senator Carter, you can walk up to the front and give yourself a 10-minute presentation.
That's great.
Thanks.
Would you like the handheld mic, or do you want to speak into that one?
Score. Testing. Does it work?
Yes.
Sweet. Hi all, my name is Faraz Bukhari. I currently served as the recruitment and retention officer last year. I was a senator for the College of Health and Human Sciences as well. This session I plan to represent APAC, which is the Asian Pacific American Cultural Center. If you haven't been, we're located on the 3rd floor. Please stop by. We have wonderful Joanne here, our director. Hi, Joanne. But yeah, I'm planning to run again for this role. Why am I qualified? I did this for a year. It's been a lot of fun. I have read the job description. It took me a while to get settled into this role and learn the bylaws, read through the Constitution, and fulfill the duties of my role. A lot of this role is social interaction. That's where I kind of thrive in. A bit about myself. I'm currently a junior in the College of Health and Human Sciences, studying health and exercise science with a concentration in sports medicine. It's a mouthful, but long story short, I want to go into physical therapy. I also serve as a resident assistant in Durward Hall. I also serve as a teaching assistant for BMS 302. And I also do this in my free time. Also in my free time, I am soccer games. It's a lot of fun. Go team, it's a lot of fun teamwork. But let's see. Many of you may wonder why I'm wearing this sweater. I see this role as me being a lighthouse. I gain people from all different seats, I guess you could say, different colleges, different backgrounds, and my goal is to be a conduit for them in this space. It's kind of difficult getting people in this space, given the history and nature and just turbulence of this area, just like the water. But at the same time, once the sky is clear and the water is still, there's a lot of great change that can happen in the space that I firmly believe in every single branch. Just because I don't see people coming into the legislative space, I also do advocate for the other branches as well. Because I firmly believe that change can happen if you want it to. No matter how big, no matter how small, if you want to do that change, you can do that one step at a time. Other things I've done in this role, compared to 2 sessions ago, I have doubled the amount of senators in the space compared to what else have I done in this space? I do attend a lot of SDPS events. I do currently serve as the vice president of SWANA Club. That's the Southwest Asian Northern African Club. We're trying to gain more awareness and representation for folks of those identities. Additionally, I do visit a lot of classes. I do talk about Senate a lot. It's every Wednesday, so there's always new beef. So the things I do like to cook, and the thing about cooking is there's different palates. So it's also how you serve this information. That's something I do hope to work on in this space as well. Because don't get me wrong, I do get stressed out from this space, and it can be a lot for a lot of people. But it's also how we portray this information to the student body. It's having that transparency. It's having that, taking a deep breath and resetting your palate and coming to Senate with a new mindset every week. Because this is a volunteer position, at least y'all senators, and I will be a senator for APAC as well. But I also will be in a paid position. And can do that. I will be in a paid position, and I do have more accountability in that role as well. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Perfect. We'll open up a 10-minute session of discussion, a question and answer. The first rate placard, and I saw this way first. So I'll work Starting with Senator Oswald.
Hi, you mentioned how being Vice President of SWANA has opened up like new avenues and opportunities for you. How does being a member of how does being a representative for a minoritized identity within CSU change the way that you operate around people at CSU and change the way you have your outreach?
Sure. To that, I say like it's been a really big learning curve for me. Growing up, I was not really expressive with my identity. I moved around to a lot of areas. Even last year compared to this year, it was really hard finding spots where I could be myself and express my identities. Joining SWANA, hosting events such as the Ramadan Iftar, the Henna Night, has allowed me to kind of expand upon my identity and be proud of it. And also interact with people that look like me, that talk like me. Granted, I do have a lot of unlearning to do because I did grow up in predominantly white environments growing up, being on military bases. And I plan to learn a lot in this role as senator for APAC. Yeah, it is different from a college council in a lot of ways because more often than not, for SDPS offices, you are fighting for your existence in a lot of ways. And I do have a lot of learning that I plan to do in these roles, and I would appreciate any corrections along the process.
As you have held the position for the 52nd Senate, do you believe that this now gives you more knowledge in how to approach things to be a little, like, to be even more effective than you were in the 52nd Senate in your outreach?
Sure. So compared to last semester, last session, I definitely took a step back from my senator role, senatorial duties, to focus mainly on recruitment and retention. This semester, I plan to divide that equally between my role as an APAC representative and representing those identities in that community, while also fulfilling the roles of recruitment and retention. A lot, in my opinion, recruitment and retention is a lot of correspondence, communication, tabling, showing up at events, going to classes like Life 102 and talking to a bunch of freshmen and being stared at. It's a lot of fun, but go by it. And given my experience in this role, I do feel like I am much more efficient with my communication. I'm able to get people into the space. And more importantly, I do want to continue to have an honest outlook to whoever wants to join the space. Because the last thing I want to do is to convince someone to come to the space and then scare them, or it is a pretty daunting experience. So I'll never front someone in that regard. But I do intend to work on the culture of the space. I do plan to bring back weekly questionnaires. So stay tuned if I do get voted.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Next we have Senator Lutz.
What? Hi, how has being involved in the different SDPS offices and clubs such as SWANA affected your outlook or perception of DEI?
I just didn't think about that real quick. So my perception of DEI kind of was like, I guess, framed through the housing perspective for the longest time. Dealing with conflict resolution, different salient identities. Most of what I did for DEI was either move it to someone else or go up. In housing, we have a term called call up, not call out, which essentially means that like if you don't feel like you're capable of handling these things, it's better to forward that information or forward that person or forward that problem to someone who is capable. Hanging out in APAC, talking with Joanne, Rachel, Hiba, those are the pro staff of that office. I've learned a lot of how to handle these situations and also insert myself. Because a lot of what I struggled with, especially this past year, was talking about myself. I like to create space for people to talk about themselves, and what ends up happening is they solve their issues on their own because people are independent and sometimes they just need the space to just be themselves. But I also understand that can create a power imbalance sometimes. So inserting myself in my own experiences creates a more, I guess, cohesive bridge between both our worlds and allows us to move forward in a way that they know me better and I know them better moving forward. So when I do bring senators into space compared to last year, I look forward to having that communication, that bond. Like I plan to work with the speaker pro tempore, the speaker, the parliamentarian, because to me, the culture is the most important part sometimes here in Senate, because we can get so wrapped up in our own worlds and our own viewpoints that we lose sight of the actual policy being discussed and who's being affected by the words that we say. So perception is something that's really big to me. Tone was something, growing up, that's something that really sucked, because how I say things is more important than necessarily what I say sometimes, because people can close off, people can shut down. So I plan to work on that in this space, and I've learned to do that also in the APAC office, because there's a lot of people with different identities. And what I've also found that works for me too is it's better to just ask and mess up and be corrected. It's better to just take that pitfall rather than make an assumption and go off that assumption the entire time without talking to someone. So having that clear communication, being vulnerable, is something I've learned a lot in the STPS offices, which I appreciate a lot.
Thank you, Ayu.
Thank you. Next we have Senator Hill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Oh, for Senator Bakari, it's good to see you up there again. How are you doing, my friend? I wanted to ask you, it's good to see some people that are redoing their rerunning their same roles again. And as somebody who's been recruitment and retention officer, which by the way, I think, you've done a good job last year as it. But as someone who has, how do you want to, is there any more changes different this year than you've done next year than you've done this past year? And if so, how would you want to do it differently or whatever, do you want to just keep how you've been doing, or if you understand what I'm saying, is there any changes you want to, how you've approached? And also second follow-up question is, what have you learned from the position?
Kind of like what I said earlier, I plan to work on just the community aspect of the space, because I feel like we do lose sight of one another, and kind of like advertising more events in this space to get to know one another, like the retreat that's coming up. If y'all are interested, please do come. It's a great event. We go to the Mount Campus. I didn't go because of RA training, and Alex, we got the trouble. That's the plan. And what have I learned in this role? I learned how to talk to people again. I love talking to people. I love talking, as you can tell. But also just talking to listen rather than talking to respond. Because I do tend to mirror people in their energy. But I also realize that is a very shallow way of doing things, because it is a way to protect myself. But I've also learned that, again, being vulnerable with someone, seeing them for what they are and the stories that they have. That's what I've done with a lot of my residents, and I want to bring to the space, because it brings more meaningful relationships. And I do hope that you all see me as a resource moving forward. And in the unlikely event I do have a physical therapy clinic, you all are invited for one free session.
That was a really good response, phenomenal. Madam Speaker, you
Thank you. Next we have Senator Taylor.
It's kind of a lot like the question that was just asked. So if it's kind of the same thing, that's totally fine. But what is the biggest goal that you have that you'd like to accomplish?
College of Ag. We have no senators for the College of Ag. And I've been trying so hard. I've been going to the college councils. I've been going to their events. And it's hard to get people in this space, but we're trying. Part of my role is I look at from IR, which is institutional research. We tally all the students, divide that number by 750 from their college, and that's how many senators you have. For every one senator, you get two senators. And we're missing first gen, a lot of people from College of Business, College of Ag, and it's, again, just getting out there, spreading the message. And part of that is the culture that we have in this space, because that's what people hear, the toxicity, the drama. And while it does make it entertaining, it is not healthy. And it's not representative of the work we actually do in the space. We have so much capability to do so much, but it gets clouded by personal vendettas, drama, egos. And it would be nice to, come to terms with those outside the space and make the space more conducive to policy. I understand we do have to talk to these things in space, and it's important to have things like DEI training, and also respect for speakers that do come into the space. But we can't let our personal biases impede on what goes on in this space.
Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Next I have Senator Doyle.
Hi, so you have done a phenomenal job getting people recruited to this space, but what I want to know is how do you plan on improving the community and morale in Senate? It's fairly well known by everyone that Senate is not the most healthy of mental spaces, and there's often a lot of controversy and conflict in here. What community events are you planning on holding and doing to improve that space?
Why am I dug myself a hole? Long story short, I don't know, but it's a work in progress. And I believe that it doesn't just lie that responsibility on one person, that's all of us in the space. I plan to work with leadership to hold events and also just check-ins throughout the week. Like when we do attendance, like asking for the favorite book, like that's something that personifies people, right? It's great. It puts, what's it called? Like kind of like more character to just an identity, or just like, you're not just a senator for College of Engineering, right? You're other things. Your favorite book, your favorite movie, your favorite video game. So small things like that add character to someone. It really makes a whole lot of a different experience than just diving into very tender topics sometimes. Community is what you make of it. And like sometimes I feel like people come to this space expecting a fight, expecting to say like a whole manifesto that they wrote like 30 minutes prior. And that's great. But also to realize the impacts that has on the greater whole. Because we all come here from 6:30 to 8:30 at least. And in that time we can do a lot of change or we can do a lot of talking. Hopefully we can do both in a productive manner. And that's why like I want to do small events or like small things to lighten the mood. But I also understand we do have serious things we have to talk about. So it's finding that balance. And I hope to learn from all of you how to do that and meet your needs in that respect.
Thank you, I yield.
Just to let y'all know, we have like 1 minute on the question and answer clock. So
Motion to extend the Q&A period by 10 minutes.
you hear a motion, do I hear a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions?
I called vision.
I don't need to say this to the mic. And so we're gonna do placards again. So just raise your hand or placard for an extension to the time for yes. All opposed. Any abstentions? Alrighty, with a vote of 5 to 10 to 2, that motion fails.
Motion to exhaust the speaker's list.
Seconded.
Alrighty, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? I would assume the ayes have it there. Next, we have Senator Snyder.
Okay, so, you have a, I'd like to know what your plan or strategy for recruiting new members to ASCSU would be, if you have one.
Honestly, the plan is just showing up to events. I kind of just go into places. I hang out around the LSC a lot. I go to a lot of housing events. I hang out with SCPS offices, and part of my role is being a face of this place. As representative as that may not be sometimes, I do like to advertise the good that we can do. Mainly just attending. I mean, I follow the SCPS offices newsletters, and I kind of just go to those events. I also plan, compared to last year, doing a lot more during like Grand Welcome. A lot of what I also do is help other branches with tabling outside, and just like handing out flyers and whatnot. But also just visiting classes, like the big classes. But other than that, it's just being around campus and wearing ASCSU merch with people like, you're an ASCSU, and I'm like, I happen to be. So, and then make a fellowship, whether they like it or not.
All right, thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you. We'll now move on to Senator Lowe.
Hi. So I'm gonna ask some questions about the SBC, but I want to just like make it clear up front. I'm not asking about like if you receive accommodations from the SBC or like putting you in a spot where you have to like disclose any disability. So I just want to make that clear. So I've heard a lot of people talking about being involved with SDPS, so I was wondering if you've participated in any events the SDC has put on, if you follow them on Instagram, like your kind of involvement with more the actual like community side of that.
Personally, I have not attended any STC events that I'm aware of from my recollection, but I also have a really bad memory, so I apologize beforehand. I do have a lot of friends that do work at the STC, and that's where I kind of get most of my information. But no, I do not currently. Sorry, can I also segue into something real quick? One thing I also do plan to work on this position is just the communication factor, because what's been a struggle for me is people get ratified in this space, and I have no idea who they are or what they like, where they come from. Because college councils and the way we also work is like 2 ways of getting to be a senator: either you're appointed or you're elected. Mostly they happen through appointments, and oftentimes there's not that through communication between presidents of college councils and directors of SDPS offices. So I plan to work on that better. But no, I have not attended SDC events.
My next kind of follow-up question. So when I came into the role of senator for the SDC, I was the 6th person ever to be in this role, and Associate Wilson is the 7th person ever to come represent the SDC. So I was wondering how you plan to outreach with the SDC to actually start bringing more like disability self-advocates into the space and kind of actually help kind of if elected in this role, you're in a position where you can actually help like disability identity as like a full political identity and not just like you have ADHD and so or like you have a disability, but like as a political identity with SDPS, like how do you plan to kind of bring people in and kind of help close that disparity of not a lot of people representing the SDC?
I'm gonna talk about a bit about last session. We had a whole contention about like how senators are allocated for SDPS offices, right? Right now it sits at 2 senators, 4 associates. That's just a very baseline. And then when that was ratified or when it passed, I went to each SDPS office, but I did fail to go to SDC because I didn't realize they were until that's on me. And I do plan to go to every SDC office periodically. It's nice that most of them are clustered here, but I wouldn't mind making the trip to Tilt to see my friends and talk with the SDC directors. But you're completely right. These identities are often ignored, just as they are with SDPS offices. And that's a struggle I'm also learning how to put into words in this space, and I'm learning how to communicate that, because oftentimes I've been taught to just suppress that. In a lot of my roles, especially in STEM, there's not really much room to talk about identities. It's more so practicality, like, do you have the merit for this position? But in this space, it's a more social setting where we can make change. So I plan to advocate more through that and learn through my own SDPS office of how to do that, and hopefully through the other ones as well.
Awesome. And then my last kind of question for you is kind of more on the technical accessibility side. So you will be elected again and part of legislative cabinet. How do you plan to kind of help streamline communication between legislative cabinet and members to make sure that like all the communication is accessible and compliant with our bylaws and all that good jazz?
Sure. So this will be also done through all of Senate leadership, but also making things very clear and abundantly clear, like multiple times, because things do get lost in translation. We do have Slack, we do have the weekly email. Not everyone is on these things. So I guess I'll be working with the Speaker Pro Tempore to just get folks on these lists ahead of time as much as we can, respecting the 48, 72-hour rule, because that has been a struggle this entire time. And it is difficult because things happen just spur of the moment sometimes on campus or like in this space, but also being respectful of those identities that need that extra time and accommodation. Also, like kind of like it's hard to sometimes for me because in this space, like I don't really help with how this space is run. Much of what I do is external, but that is an external part that I do want to work on. One of the things I've also tried to work on heavily in this space is updating the website as much as I can and making that more accessible. I try my best to go every week and update the members list at the front desk because I don't have access to that. They have to do the little magic. Shout out to the front desk. But hopefully that answers your question.
Answers. Thank you, Emil.
Thank you. Next we have Senator Bill Jr. Normally go by that full, or do you just want to go by Bill? Mike, please, perfect.
If we can go by layout, and that's it, that'd be great.
Perfect. Okay. Senator Leo.
Okay, so my question for you was, earlier in your presentation, it seemed like you had a lot more of time management going into the 53rd rather than the 52nd. I was wondering how you would enhance your time management skills, but also fulfill the duties of your outside commitments and your commitment to ASCSU.
You are completely correct in that. I overcame myself this semester. 17 credits, RA job, this job, TAing. I run a running club. And I help with SWANA and SCPS offices. So I do plan to just hone in on things I have energy for next semester. One of which that I do enjoy doing is I like to divide my time, kind of like split in ways that I can do multiple things at once. For example, I hold office hours like throughout the week, and I just come into the office and I just have a presence in the office. People that come through, I give them the spiel. They don't come through, that's fine. But I also try to, that's one of the ways I want to improve community in the space, is just getting people to just come and just kind of hang out. And because a lot of the great change that we do in the space, yes, it happens through Senate, but also through committees. And also just being in the space and just having those conversations, working with one another out of the space. Because ASCSU is a great connector to a lot of great things on campus, like Slice, like the rec center, like housing and dining. And what I've also learned is being outside there in that space has also allowed me to learn more about other people and what other connections they have in the space. Like I didn't know Claudia worked in, or sorry, Speaker Pro Tempore elect for ISO was in the IM scene, like working for the rec. And maybe we could talk about that because I also use these services and maybe we could look at what could be improved. One of the things I do want to work on too is like just side note, sorry, this is another tangent. I tangent a lot. What's that road in front of Newsom that like everyone parks their big trucks on? Yeah, if we can ban pickup trucks from like parking there, because like, it's like I'm driving and I feel like, or another creative solution would just be making the lines a bit longer. So, but anyways, but you're right. Time management is something that I do struggle with this semester, and I felt the burnout for real. It's really rough. But I do plan to continue to use Google Calendar, chunk things out, and also overcommit myself has also taught me to just chunk my stresses out, which is healthy and unhealthy. I do realize that, but it's also finding things that I can also work on and also do myself in is what I've also learned to prioritize, because I commit myself through a variety of roles, but now I know what my interests are because I've experienced them. And that's what I urge everyone here to do is be uncomfortable, be comfortable with the uncomfortable, because that's where you're in college. If you don't try it out, you'll never know what it's like. So, is that answered?
Thank you, I yield my time.
Thank you, Senator Kelly.
Motion to read this question.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? I will have you step out and grab Senator Salazar. I will also inform y'all, we have 32 minutes left on the conference call.
I motion to extend the conference call by 2 hours.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor of extending the conference call, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? I'm gonna say the ayes have that. You get 10 minutes for presentation.
This is on.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So I'm Adrian Salazar. I use he, him pronouns. I was previously the chair of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Affairs Committee. Here to express my interest in the recruitment and retention officer. First and foremost, I believe that I am a good candidate for this position, as I have been able to facilitate some conversation around people that are interested in Senate and kind of like give them a guiding perspective of what to expect, as well as being able to provide retention. Although very slight, I was in the conversations with previously Chair Trout, now Simon Trout, regarding the DEI training for Senate. And
Adrian, can you put the mic closer to your mouth?
like this?
Yes.
Okay. Do I need to repeat anything for anyone online? So yeah, just like I mentioned before, providing the retention for the DEI training, which is a big component to being the recruitment and retention officer. I have familiarized myself with the job description and all that entails, and I feel like I fit all the responsibilities and qualifications needed to serve this position and serve ultimately the student body as well. Being that under the supervision, the recruitment and retention officer is held accountable by the student body as well. Different ways that I myself, as the previous DEI chair, I was able to kind of get some SCPS or like marketing done in regard to senator and associate senatorship, was making the DEI Instagram. There, I feel like we kind of got some marketing done and able to get some recruitment regarding the SCPS offices and stuff like that. Currently, right now, I serve as one of the Pride Resource Center student staff. So I'm very heavily involved in all of the SCPS offices and have, I'd say, an efficient connection with most of the assistant directors, professional staff, or I'm going to say assistant directors, directors, program coordinators, and student success coordinators. So yeah, and I'm very familiar with all of the RSOs on campus and different stuff like that. So I'll give it back to you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. We'll enter a 10-minute period of question and answer with the first raised hand or placard. I saw Senator Snyder first.
What plans or tactics would you employ to try and increase student representation in ASCSU?
Great question. I think it kind of falls along the lines of marketing and knowing where to market, especially because sometimes people don't really understand what ASCSU is. There's been conversations that I've been a part of where a lot of students don't really realize it's modeled after the US government. So definitely making sure that I myself am able to engage with those students and kind of like break down those kind of, I don't want to say stigmas, but like those previous connotations in order to gain the recruitment for different college councils, ALDS, SCPS offices, etc.
Thank you. I yield my time.
Thank you. Next raised Senator Doyle.
So while recruitment and retention in its name is one of the most important roles of the recruitment and retention officer, I feel one of the even more important roles is encouraging a safe space to converse, as well as a welcoming community incident, which has been lacking for a long time. What sort of events do you plan on holding in the ASCSU Senate and just ASCSU in general, if you want to do that, to improve the atmosphere of Senate?
Yes, definitely. I think in regards to like events, I more shifted to like trainings and such. I know for myself, I've had the opportunity to be safe zone trained, which kind of combats using gendered language. So kind of that aspect, because I know like previously in the 52nd Senate, we've often seen many senators, chairs, such like that, correcting people for using the term guys because it's not really gender inclusive, as well as maybe utilizing conflict mediation training that I've been a part of during my time as Pride staff, and as well as when I was the previous chair of DEI, I had the privilege to write the bylaws with now Speaker Ayala, and in those conversations, we made it very apparent and explicit that DEI not only is a committee, but it's supposed to serve marginalized students and for them to come to that committee to express their concerns and express what they're seeing wrong on campus, the Fort Collins community, and as well as ASCSU. And we did get some students, but from marketing, it was kind of like harder in regards to like the Instagram, like some of the followers, like they're not really students, it was more of like the RSOs on campus, as well as different organizations that CSU has.
Thank you, I yield.
Thank you. Next we have. Oh, I can't remember. Senator Taylor.
What is the biggest goal that you have with this position?
I think for me personally, just from my like eyewitness account, a way to provide the space with conflict mediation training. I think oftentimes, even myself included in previous sessions, I let my judgment slip away from my actual activism for the student community. And I think it's very important to make sure that as we all are students, like tones and emotions can get high in this space. And it's really important that we're able to kind of facilitate those dialogues and kind of recollect ourselves and make sure that we're actually staying here for the common goal and being like responsible advocates for the student body. So that's like one of many, and as well as bringing back the DEI training because I feel like that was a very efficient and reflective training that we were all like able to be a part of.
Thank you. And also I motion to exhaust the speakers list.
Second. Do I hear any dissent to that motion? All right, hearing none of this because this has been exhausted. Have you used your time, Secretary?
Yes, I yield my time.
Perfect. Next we have Senator Love.
So I want to preface this with, I'm going to talk about the SDC as a community space. And so if you receive accommodations or have a disability, I don't want to put you into a space where you're still forced to disclose that. So those questions are not about if you receive services from the SDC. So recruitment and retention, sorry, my brain just like glitched out. Okay, sorry. So the SDC has struggled often to get like disability self-advocates in here as recognizing and seeing disability as a political identity as a community. I am the sixth person to ever serve as a senator for the SDC. Associate Wilson, the seventh person to ever serve as a representative for the SDC. So how do you plan to outreach and get involved with the SDC outside of just the legal side to bring more disability self-advocates and identity into this space?
Yeah, of course. So I think a lot of it, so I'll just share because I am comfortable and I am open to all this stuff. I do have a hidden disability. I've utilized a lot of the SEC resources in regards to like notes. I need the notes to actually focus in class, and which is why like the 48-hour rule is very beneficial for me. And I think in regards to outreach, it's important to be on those like first contact basis with all the directors, especially the ones that supervise the senators and the associate senators, to make sure that if I'm elected to this position, that I'm able to create a space with not only the post staff, but the senators and associates that are going to come into the space. And I think it's important to like make sure that we are including all these communities and we are making sure that ASCSU is held accountable in all of its initiatives. I think for me, the main thing, if I am elected to this position, is over the summer, starting to engage with conversations with Justin, Dub, the director, and as well as Joe Trainer, which is the assistant director, in order to maintain outreach and get students involved that are student activists and have a lot of passion in regard to accessibility, not only accessibility and as well as marginalized communities and benefits to the community as well.
And my next kind of question, have you been involved with any of the SDC events or have you like gone to those? And if you haven't, like, do you plan to use those as outreach opportunities?
I don't know if this counts, but I was able to go to the ESA event that was housed in the SDC because there was a cat there and I've never met an ESA cat. So it was very fun and lovely to get to loop with Snoop. So, yeah. And of course, staying involved in the SDC and all the other CSOs as well.
And then this is kind of shifting gears to kind of like more of the actual accessibility side. So if you're elected, recruitment and retention is a part of the legislative cabinet. How do you plan to work to make sure that communication is accessible and also meeting compliance with the bylaws?
Yeah, so I think oftentimes like the main aspect of the recruitment and retention officer is the recruitment part and getting senators and associate senators into the space. But I really want to be able to tangibly do that as well as focus on the retention and see how ASCSU can do like an alt text workshop that was done in the DEI Affairs Committee or different things to make sure it's accessible to everyone and maintaining those hybrid spaces. I know, especially in the 52nd, like we kind of struggled with that a little bit. And thankfully, we've had some grace with some things, and I want to work with the Speaker Pro Tempore and Speaker Ayala to make sure I'm maintaining that and make sure I'm maintaining the accessibility initiatives that ASCSU desperately needs because ASCSU is not all able-bodied. We have activists and students that are disabled, whether it's hidden or visible. So.
Thank you. I do.
Thank you. Next, Senator Kelly.
Motion for this question.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? With that, we move out of the question and answer period and go into a 20-minute period of discussion debate with the first race bracket. Let's first wait for Senator Salazar to.
I think that both of these candidates would be excellent in this position. I'm going to be voting for Senator Bukoraber because he's been fantastic in that position. As he said, he's doubled the size of the Senate. And so I think a lot of that kind of speaks for himself. But honestly, both of these candidates would be definitely good in this position. And I yield my time.
Thank you. Next, we have Senator Lowe.
So I will be voting for Senator Salazar. So or in the 52nd Senate, I served as the Accessibility Officer in the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Affairs Committee. He created that role because I felt that the metaphor I use is that oftentimes it feels like DEI is on the 3rd floor of a building with no elevator. And Senator Salazar created the accessibility officer role to create a permanent spot in that committee to make sure that the voices of disabled self-advocates and activists would always be included. He has gone above and beyond when he does make a mistake and learning how to like not only look at the whole situation, but also come up with really creative solutions and ideas to what can be done to not only avoid that in the future, but to also make spaces more healing and joyful. I've also had the privilege of working with Senator Salazar on Pride staff, and he is deeply passionate and deeply connected to this campus and many student groups, even with identities he does not hold. I think that Senator Bukhari would do an amazing job, but I do think that a change of pace would be needed for this space, and I believe that Senator Salazar would be the best fit for this role because he deeply cares about DEI, he deeply cares about this campus, and I think he could bring a really fresh change to this role. So with that, I yield.
Thank you. Next, we have Senator April.
Agent Salazar has put his heart and soul into ensuring that everyone is welcome in the space. For anyone that did never go to Diversity and Inclusion Affairs Committee, his committee was the most fun and had the most engagement and attendance. Having him be the recruitment and retention officer would end up with us having engagement and more importantly, retention of members of ASCSU. I am in awe of this man. He's opened up so much over the last year of his time in Senate, and he's the type of person that can convince you to keep going through ASCSU despite the really, really sad times this organization has. He's a good man in the storm. Adrian is lively and likes to make jokes, and also knows when to have a serious conversation. Senator Salazar would be the person to fill this space, and he'd be the person to keep this space filled. Adrian is the man that is going to take the hit to make sure that his senators are going to be okay. And as recruitment and retention officer, everyone here would be under that wing. Salazar is an amazing advocate, and while I will not be voting because I was missing for a lot of the presentations for this set, I urge the body to vote for Senator Salazar.
Next, we have Senator Kelly.
Is anyone on the list?
We have one person.
Previous question.
All right, everyone in favor of previous question, say aye.
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 Oh, I'm not, never mind, I'm a nay.
Anyone opposed?
Nay.
Any abstentions?
Abstain.
I'm gonna say the ayes have it. Speaker Pro Tempore-elect Kaiser is handing out the
Point of information, one of the senators who is running, so does that mean I get voting rights or no?
That's up to you. Wait, because one of the senators, sorry, because one of the senators for our office is running, that means yes, because he is not able to vote in this election, that you have the voting power for just until he comes back in the
Got it.
perfect. Yeah, we are handing out secret ballots right now. You still have the options as last time. Please put in either Crosby, Parry, or Salazar, as well as a no confidence to give no confidence to these candidates. Yes, Senator Doyle.
I motion that after all ballots have been collected for a 2-minute recess for vote counting.
Seconded.
All right, do I hear any dissent to that motion? Hearing none, once the ballots are collected, we will have a 2-minute break.
Quick point of information, our associate Wilson is going to be voting in place of Senator Amy just because she missed a good chunk of the presentations. They are on Zoom. How do you want them to vote?
They can send me a secret or direct message. Yeah, it is.
I'll put this on one. Everyone in the room is aware, I just poured up my ballot, so it's not going to happen.
Speaker Pro Tempore-elect Kaiser will start collecting the ballots, and once all of them are collected, you'll have your 2-minute recess.
Fine, I promise not. No. I'm not elected. She's just,
I said Speaker Pro Tempore-elect, didn't I?
she's not an elect.
Oh, true. You're right. Anyway.
Why isn't the president, vice president, speaker sworn in?
She technically has been. They haven't been because they don't start until June. Thank you. We should do that. I think that's kind of important.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
I'm a little
I didn't
exception.
realize, I missed a couple weeks. I didn't realize.
I never technically sworn in.
Cool, we'll make that much when we get back to the
So you're technically still.
Oh. Oh, I hope so. To yourself.
So if. Since he's not sworn in.
Nor Chief Justice is still here.
With that, I'm pretty sure all the ballots have been collected. We will count them and see you at 8:57. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna start here.
like to know.
I would still love another prize.
I will never stop.
I bring.
Oh,
Here, yeah.
Yeah.
Cody, this is he's helping us while we both of the directors are out. Yes.
Are you gonna have a cutoff time?
No way.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna see where we end up at 11. And from there, I will make a decision if I want to go longer or if I think everything can be held off to. And that's something I'll have to talk to
Before you go to bed.
about.
Please, for my own mental health.
Oh, should I mute those?
Yes. For all those on Zoom, forgot to unmute. We're just pulling back in the candidates. Congratulations, Senator Bakari. Come down and administer the oath of office.
I move for the Speaker of the Senate to also take that oath that I just had.
Yeah, funny thing, I didn't take note yet, so I will join in as well.
Please raise.
Oh,
When you're ready, when you're
okay.
ready, please raise your right hand. I state your name,
I, Ava,
do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Yeah, funny story. I didn't get sworn in. Now we're going. Whoa. Okay. I'm gonna go with the person closest to me,
Let's go.
President-elect DeSalvo. Yes.
I nominate Parker Doyle as parliamentarian.
Is Senator Doyle?
I accept.
Perfect. Is there anyone else who would like to? President Long.
Nominate Ben Torres Doxy.
Does Ben Torres Doxy accept this nomination?
No.
Is there any other self-nominations or nominations? Seeing none, Parker Doyle, please come to the front. You get a 10-minute presentation.
I will keep my presentation short, so that way there'll be plenty of time for questions. My name is Parker Doyle. I'm a junior with, next year I'll be a senior with the College of Engineering as a chemical and biological engineer. I was formerly the chair of the Constitution Caucus. Why I think I'd be good in this position is I am well versed in the Constitution and its bylaws, as well as Robert's Rules of Order. My main goal for the position is to increase accessibility in this space, majorly in the field of our online presence at ASCSU by updating the records website and updating the captioning software of Zoom. And yeah, that is my presentation. I will now open for questions.
We move into a 10-minute question and answer with the first race placard associated with Mount TSL.
Hello there, Parker.
Hello.
How do you plan to keep up with the job requirements of the parliamentarian, which is also to send bills to the president and making sure to get to the president within a timely manner, as well as keeping the website updated and well up to date with the record keeping, and now the newly added budget tracking?
Yeah. So I guess you could say I am fortunate in that my class load for next semester is actually very light. I've completed the majority of my requirements, and I just have like 3 classes, although one doesn't have a building, so who knows if I get to take that class. Fun. And so I am very open in scheduling for next year, and so I will definitely have plenty of time. My viewpoint on how to keep that sort of thing in time management is basically a lot of the stuff is very regular changes. And so I plan to introduce macros to basically do it, so that way at a specific time it will just release the email regardless of whether or not I've attached everything or not. So that way, even if I forget to do something, we'll at least have the majority of legislation posted on the weekly email and that sort of thing. I also plan on just doing it on time, but yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for that lovely answer. I yield the rest of my time, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Next we have Senator Lowe.
Hi, so I think you kind of covered a lot of the accessibility questions I have, but the one I still have remaining, so the Financial Transparency Act, I think that was the bill's name. Part of that is uploading that information in a format that is accessible to screen readers. How familiar are you How familiar are you with making documents accessible to screen reader software?
That is a good question. I cannot say that I'm that familiar. I will definitely have to do some outside research. I would say that I am definitely willing and capable of doing that. For some other accessibility things, I've been looking up various like captioning softwares, both free and paid, to add on to Zoom to make those better. So I feel I definitely have the experience needed to learn how I can make that the most accessible I can.
Awesome. And then kind of a follow-up, would you be willing to connect with the Adaptive Technology Resource Center?
I would indeed, if I can get their contact information.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Next we have Senator Kevin.
Previous question.
Second.
So sad.
All right. All those. Whoa. Everyone approval, say aye.
Aye.
Everyone who doesn't approve, say nay. Any abstentions? Hearing none, the ayes have it. We will move to a period of discussion debate, which will be 20 minutes, with the first base record, once Senator Doyle leaves the chambers.
Wait, quick question. Do I have to wait for significant?
Adequate discussion needs to happen.
It'll be like third.
You have to raise your record again.
Yeah, I'm voting for Parker. I definitely that he can definitely fill the role of parliamentarian. Considering that, you know, he was also one of the previous candidates up for parliamentarian in the 52nd when compared to Kyle Clark as well. Kevin Clark, listen, I confused it with 9 o'clock news. Anyway, yeah, no, I feel fully confident in his ability to not only perform the duties of parliamentarian, but also research ways to make not only the Zoom captioning more accessible, but also figure out screen readers as well. And I feel like he would definitely be open to the SDC advice and assistance in that as well. And yeah, no, generally I feel great about Parker. I yield the rest of my time.
Senator Taylor.
Seeing as we have one candidate and a few people have now said that they feel good about him, I motion to approve this question.
All those approve, say aye.
Aye.
All those against, say nay. Any abstentions? Hearing none, we move out of period of discussion debate.
I motion to approve this candidate with unanimous consent.
Do I hear any dissent? Hearing none, this candidate is approved with unanimous consent. Can we please grab Senator Doyle?
Not a trickle. We're back again.
Congratulations.
I state your name,
I, Parker Doyle,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
and will rightfully perform my duties of my office
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Alrighty, now that we've finished legislative cabinet elections, we will move on to the ratification of executive cabinet. May I have Speaker-elect, may I have President-elect DeSalvo and Vice President-elect Silva Hartman.
Madam Speaker, I would like to move to close the budget first. See if I have a motion that I want to make, I'm not going to take our last question.
Do I hear a second? All those who would like to move. Wait, I don't have the agenda, or I don't have the, that's not on the agenda. Oh, you want to add it to the agenda, because I do not have that on the agenda.
I guess, sure, I'm adding it to the agenda right here. That was the test. Yep. Or do you want to just like, because I plan to table it anyway.
The thing is, it is not currently on my agenda, on the agenda, so. Future. Alrighty, I will still ask President-elect DeSalvo and Vice President-elect Silverheart to come down.
Thank you, Kyle.
That's fine.
Alrighty, thank you everybody for being here and sticking it out. I know it's a very late night. Finals are this week and next for most, so we will try and keep this short. I know last week Pamela talked about kind of the interview process and what goes into that. In terms of ratification, we interviewed all these candidates. We asked all the candidates the same questions. Each candidate had at least 2 interviewers in the room. So there was a very like procedural procedure that was used in order to like hire these candidates. So in terms of ratification, please keep that in mind. All the candidates were asked about diversity, equity, and inclusion. So if we can keep this process as quickly as possible, we can get everybody home in bed. Sleep is very important for the mind, especially in terms of taking tests and stuff from that biomedical perspective. So yeah, I had the chance to meet all of these wonderful people. I don't know how many we have tonight. It is not our entire cabinet, so we will have to figure out some sort of special session to ratify the remainder of cabinet. But yeah, to start off, we're going to start with Meron, who will be our next director of traditions and programming. We're going to start with her because she put on a wonderful event today involving 4 different food trucks, music from KCSU. Yeah, come up. Has just been a great asset this year, and she came in mid-year, which is extremely difficult within cabinet because you have to learn very quickly. I know a few people in cabinet this year can kind of attest to that. But she's done an amazing job. She's such an amazing person too. Has a real knack for design as well, which can definitely be helpful in event planning and such. So we'd like to welcome and introduce you to Meron.
Hi, everyone. Alex basically said a lot of the most important things to me. I love event planning. I love interior design. And so if y'all love either of those, please just always let me know. I'm always looking for new clients to help decorate for. But I am a 3rd year here at CSU. I'm studying journalism and media communication. And I also have a business minor, and I'm studying with a concentration in marketing. I have been born and raised in Colorado my entire life, and this is I want to say my 3rd or 4th semester part of ASCSU. I've been in and out of here. I started off as the director of deputy director of graphic design, and then I'm the director of campus engagement this year, and now I have the director of traditions. And so I'm looking forward to just upholding a lot of the traditions that CSU has, and just continuing really cool events like the one we had today and the sunset yoga event I was able to do on Monday.
Thank you. We will enter into a 10-minute period of question and answer. Should I want the first placard?
What we'd like to do, there are 2 candidates who have to leave in the near future. And so we wanted to ratify those 2, put those 2 on a slate, and then of course do the rest afterwards. And so Hunter, if you could come up as well.
Madam Speaker, I have a motion.
Yes.
So what are the 2 candidates' names?
Meron and Hunter.
Meron and Hunter. I would like to motion on putting these 2 candidates on the slate with unanimous consent.
Aye. Do I hear you dissent? Hearing that these 2 will be put on the slate.
I've been with this organization for it'll be 2 full years, and I still don't fully understand parliamentary procedure. But here we are. Hunter Langendecker is going to be our next Deputy Director of Marketing. She's in her 3rd year within a major in environmental sciences with a concentration in microbiology. She brings a lot of good skills to the table. She has been the social media chair for the Microbiology Student Association and uses Canva extensively to market different events and programs for students, which is super important and vital to the role of marketing within ASCSU. She's super creative, loves painting and collaging, and she referred to that as being very grandma. So, yeah. Please welcome Hunter.
Hi everyone, Alex touched on most of what I was going to say, but 3rd year going into my 4th year for next year, obviously I'll be a senior. I'm super creative, I love working with people, and I'm really excited about the prospect of doing some really great things for the ASCSU social media, and I can't wait to incorporate some creativity into that.
Minute period of question and answer for the first responder. I will allow it since there was no other questions asked.
Second.
Yeah, can I hear a second? Thank you. All who approve say aye.
Aye.
All who don't approve say nay. Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Thank you. We move out of a period of question and answer to a period of discussion and debate. I will have the 2 candidates please step outside. We will start with the first responder.
I think that we all feel good about these candidates. I think that we all want to go home too. It's getting late. We still have a lot on the agenda, so I motion to approve this question.
Second.
Perfect. All approval, say aye.
Aye.
All disapprove, say nay. Any abstentions? Hearing none, we move out of a period of discussion and debate into a period of voting.
I motion to approve these candidates with unanimous consent.
Do I hear any dissent? Hearing none, these candidates are approved in unanimous consent. Yes, step down to the oath of office. Oh.
I state your name.
I, Alex Silverheart,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University,
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my abilities.
Congratulations.
Thank you. All right.
I'll just go ahead and ask the rest of the cabinet to come up here.
I would recommend that Senate motions to hold these candidates on the slate.
I would like to motion to put all these candidates on the slate.
Seconded.
All those approved say aye.
Aye.
All those disapproved say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions?
Abstain.
I will say the ayes have it. These candidates are not put on the slate.
Alrighty.
Sorry, I have a quick point of information. Are they all going to go down the line and give us a spiel about themselves?
If they would like to, yes. I will give the bridge spiel, so they will have the chance to extend that spiel or end the spiel where I ended the spiel.
Point of information, since the Zoom like noise sound keeps glitching, can in the chat they write down the name and their position so I'm aware of who I'm talking about? That would be super helpful. Thank you.
Yes, I can introduce a few and then get that in the chat. Oh, I can write it.
Typically, you could do that just in the agenda, because it has to be documented anyway.
Yeah, you can write it as we go, Parker. That would be a great help. I really appreciate it. Okay, we'll just kind of go in the order I have on the sheet. Ashton Duffield, who is a third-year major in accounting and legal studies, will be our new director of finance. He's been the ASCSU accountant for the past year, which has given him great experience with the financial processing system used within ASCSU. He's also been a part of the president's leadership program. And he also ran for president against Nick and I, and we would like to prove that we don't hold grudges. But we also believe that he is a really good candidate for this position. He went out of his way to meet with the previous director of finance to talk about the position and what it entails, which I think shows a really good initiative. You can also catch him at the Prodigy Gym lifting weights and getting those gains in. So, yeah. Ashton, would you like to add anything?
Sure.
Oh, microphone.
Go Rams.
Love it. Is it Q&A?
No,
Okay.
For reference, he said go Rams.
Alrighty, would you like to introduce Braxton?
Yes, so as our chief of staff, we have Braxton Dietz, who I have just been blown away with this year. He's clearly proven himself to be a dedicated and driven leader, particularly with the temporarily disabled program for students that is really in the process of getting funding from Pacific. They're very, very close. And so this is something that is going to positively impact this campus. He gave a really, really impressive interview, had a 5-point plan as being chief of staff, and he came to us with over 3 letters of recommendation. And so I guess I'll turn it over to Braxton if he has anything to add.
Sure thing. I think you touched on most of it. I really just want to emphasize that I'm a kind-driven leader here to work towards the goal that we're all here to work towards, which is the betterment of the lives of the student body. And thank you.
Perfect. Next on our list, we have Ayla, who has been the clerk for this year. We think she's done a fantastic job being the clerk. It's given her a very interesting perspective on ASCSU and kind of our place in this campus. She also has a lot of mentorship capacities and mediation capacities, has really good interpersonal skills. Yeah, and a fun fact is she does metal work, and recently she made a suit of armor for a prawn. Yes, that's Bishop. So, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, even though, I have been in the space and served as a clerk, I really look forward to just getting to know all of you a lot better in different capacity. I also really look forward to kind of getting my ideas that I've had developed while listening and sitting and experiencing this space. I really look forward to putting those ideas into really solid things that can help benefit our students and the space.
Next, we have Isabel Henry, who is going to be our business and community liaison. She is a second year who plans on graduating in the spring, which is a shorter timeline, but has already made a really big impact on campus. She is majoring in communication and has worked a lot with the Center for Public Deliberation, and also does research about how people communicate with one another and how that is kind of derived from family interactions. She's worked with many nonprofits, grew up in Fort Collins, and really enjoys the Purple Box Annie's mac and cheese, which is gluten-free and white cheddar shells. So, yeah.
I think that Alex pretty much covered it all, but I just wanted to acknowledge that I am new to ASCSU and I'm really excited to get to know all y'all and work with you this coming academic school year. So, yeah, thank you.
Next up, we have Hayden Deason. She's the current chief of staff for ASCSU in the executive branch. and she's stepping into a role of environmental affairs. And she's really, really passionate about sustainability. She ran for president last year, and the main focus of their ticket was sustainability. And so she's very, very dedicated to this work, and we're excited to see what she does with it. She came highly recommended by the former Director of Environmental Affairs, Ken Kinnear. And so I'll hand it over to Hayden to add anything.
Yeah, thank you. Can everyone hear me? Yeah, sweet, thank you. I would just say that, yeah, it's my major is ecosystem science and sustainability. I've done a ton of work with different sustainability groups across campus, and so I already have those connections, and I'm very excited to be stepping into this position. Thank you.
And next we have Georgia White. Georgia is a second year majoring in psychology and sociology with a minor in leadership. And she will be our next director of health. And this has been my role for the past year. So I was super excited to find someone that I believe can really fill the shoes that I have filled. I am not a shoe builder. But she is extremely impressive. I can tell you during the interview, my heart was literally beating out of my chest because I was so excited about all the passion that I believe she's going to bring to ASCSU, specifically in terms of mental health. She talked a lot about social justice and her work with social justice. In her future, she wants to own her own counseling practice that focuses on multicultural techniques. And she's also worked in SLICE, developing inclusive leadership programming and focusing on harm reduction. So thank you, Georgia.
Thank you. So yeah, I just want to say I'm very passionate about food insecurity and harm reduction, like Alex said. I'm also super just like human connection really fills my cup. So I'm really excited to get to meet all of you guys and get to really know like where your passions lie and what kind of work you're doing. And again, if you guys want to work on food insecurity with me, I'm really excited to do that. So yeah.
Great, thank you, Georgia. Next, we have Theo Reese, who is our Director of Academics. Many of you know him from the 52nd Senate, but he has pretty strong connections with faculty here at CSU. And so I think it's really going to serve the role well as Director of Academics. He focused on the student perspective and understands that there's a lot of work that needs to be done on both sides of the coin as far as academics for students are concerned, and then of course academics on the university level. And yeah, I'll just hand it over to Theo to add anything.
Thank you. Nick pretty much touched on everything. I want to say that I really do understand that it takes two sides when it comes to negotiation about academics. As a student, you faces a lot with finals and homework and just getting accommodations, because I understand that not all the time can you get the accommodations you need to succeed. And I understand that without those accommodations, it's very hard to, near impossible. So I understand that. But I also understand that professors have a lot on their plate too. So I feel like coming from both sides and just having and creating that dialogue, I feel like that's just my role, to create dialogue between the students and the faculty.
Fantastic. Next, we have Kanjia. She will be our new Deputy Director of Finance. She is in her first year majoring in finance and data science. She was the president of multiple clubs in high school, and a lot of this experience required outreach to students, specifically providing funding to a lot of student organizations, which shows that she knows how to handle money, which is vital to this role. She's a really big people person, likes building relationships, and is also a big fan of biography. So if you're looking for some summer reads, I highly recommend reading it. But yeah, feel free to take it away.
Yeah, and I also just wanted to add that this is my first year at ASCSU, but I'm so excited to get to know all of you guys and work with all of you guys, and yeah, I'm so excited for this next year.
The next person I'd like to introduce is Kayla, who will be our next Deputy Director of Traditions and Programming, working right alongside Modon. She will be a senior next semester, majoring in business management. She was one of the founders and the current secretary of the Music Business Collective, which has hosted 8 different concerts across campus, which falls directly within this position. We want to see more student events that students actually enjoy and students actually want to go to. She also has a lot of experience with project development and grant development in a company called Arula that she's worked with, and has many administrative roles that would be beneficial to a role like this. And she's also a very avid cello player, so I'm hoping at some point we can hear some of that as well.
Thank you. I just want to add that I'm really passionate about student engagement. I'm really excited to be working with you guys, with you all, and getting to know everyone here. So thank you.
Great. Next we have Alejandra. I don't feel like I have to say much about her because her reputation speaks for itself. But they are an amazing person, have done so much work on campus. Specifically, I'd like to point out their work with the Body Project. That has been a huge success on campus in terms of improving body image for students, and that program is just growing and growing and growing, which is so cool. And that's definitely something we want to see improved on campus. I could talk about you for hours, but yeah, feel free to say anything else you'd like to mention.
Thank you, Alex. Yeah, like Alex mentioned, I'm super excited to continue the work that I've been doing, specifically with the Body Project. I hope to collaborate with the Health Network as well as the Prevention Research Center here on campus to secure more funding for the Body Project and make sure that it continues on after I'm gone. So.
Next up, we have Evan Welch, who has served as the Director of Governmental Affairs this year and has done a great job, has actually started the negotiations for a lobbyist for next year. And so that's a contract that I'll sign. So we'll have someone up at the state capitol fighting for our interests. And so just really impressed. He's serving in the capacity of Deputy Director of Housing Security this year. And, you know, he's just been really involved with City Council. Excited to see what he does in this new role.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, thank you for introducing myself. So yeah, basically as housing security director, I'll be working on more like E+2 and other housing security issues, mostly E+2 until that's gone. Corey has done a lot of work, Director Garcia has done a lot of work. I'll basically just be taking up where he left off, continuing the project with E+2, and after E+2 is gone, I'll be working on other housing security initiatives to get other stuff done to help the students here.
Thank you, Evan. Next we have Aaron Snyder and Derek Newberger. They will be our representatives for graduate affairs. I don't know if technically they need ratification, but they still wanted to be there tonight. And they were ratified last year, so we're just going to keep that tradition up. But they will be the co-presidents of the Graduate Student Council. I've worked relatively closely with Derek. He's done a fantastic job, and I'm excited to learn more about Aaron. But I do know that the Graduate Student Council was voted the
Registered Organization of the Year.
yes, RSO of the year last week, which was fantastic to see. But they've done a lot of good work on campus, and I know they will continue to do good work for not only the graduate students, but for all students. So thank you both.
Okay, so I'm Erin. Can you hold it closer? Okay, so I'm Erin. So I'm a fourth year in the graduate department of chemistry. I'm getting PhD in chemistry. And I just really wanted to be involved because sometimes as a graduate student, you feel really detached from the university as a whole. And so I sought out the Graduate Student Council because I worked a lot in my department itself, and it feels very self-contained, and you feel like you can't get as much done. And so I sought out this organization to kind of have our voice heard as a collective and be more involved and excited about being CSU students because we are. And I'm super excited to work with all of you and Derek this next year. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Derek. This is what my face looks like, and hopefully see it once a semester. And Grad Student Council will be great things. I'm such a privilege to be part of this team once again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Derek. And for clarification, they don't need to go through this ratification process, but it's great that the both of you are here.
And happy to meet you guys.
Point of information. On the Zoom, it says that there's 2 director of grad affairs. Is that correct?
Deputy directors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then last, but number one in our hearts, Michael Stella. We were really impressed. He's going to serve as the Director of Governmental Affairs this year. He just wrapped up a legislative internship at the Capitol, and so he has quite a wealth of experience and knowledge in handling and just working with state legislators. And he actually he interned for a lobbying organization. And so, well, he served for a lobbying organization within that internship. And so he has an understanding how to lobby in front of state leaders. And so we're just really thrilled to have him.
Thank you. All I wanted to add is that I'm excited to get to work and making CSU a better place.
Yeah, we appreciate y'all for making this process very quick. I know we're about to enter Q&A. Like I said before, we did extensive questioning with all of the people that we interviewed. There was a question about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and we are confident in all of the answers, and I would love to share those, whether it's now or whether it's later. But I'm extremely confident in these individuals, and I am excited to see them ratified.
Thank you. We'll move into a period of question and answer. I'll start with the first raised question. Start with the first raised question. I'm moving over here. Starting with Senator Austin.
I have a question for Deputy Director Welch. How do you, sorry, I'm gonna wait till you get the mic. How do you plan to advertise events that will take down, like events like the U+2 takedown rallies or stuff like that to our members on campus and members off campus?
So I've been working with multiple groups. So first was to go off campus. There's a place called there's an organization called the GIMBY and an organization called Strong Towns of Piercer. Both of them are very pro housing for everyone. They're in like very anti-U+2. So we're working with them to do more outreach on that level. I'm guessing there's probably people, not individuals who are not students, but haven't reached out to you. So if I miss anyone, you think, oh, that's a good idea, please let me know, text me or just send. Like, hey, Evan, just also reach out to these people. I happily will, because I know I can't reach out to everyone. With on campus, I'll be down to communicating with SPS houses. I'll be communicating with all the college councils as well. And I'll probably communicate to clubs. And I know when the school year starts, when we do the fair with the person going in and get advertised there, I will also be going to the big classes like Life 101, History, I think 100, Political Science, all the basically freshman level classes in any big class. I will be going there without someone else academy or Senate to go there and speak about U+2. So like I'll be handing messages out everywhere, and I'll also be working with the marketing, the diversity and inclusion department, all those departments as well. Yeah, outreach. So like basically, I plan to reach out to everyone. I really not great answer, but like that's really the answer. And if I miss anyone what I'm saying, any of you please tell me, because U+2 is a problem that affects all the community, and I want to reach out as many people as possible about what's going on to try to change it. So yeah, thanks for your question.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, I would like to motion to exhaust the speakers list.
I'm so sorry. Point of information. Can we fix the Zoom? Because the whole point of the list was to be able to see the names, and you can see maybe 5.
The only thing is we do need to be zoomed in enough where you can be able to read it. If we were to zoom out too much, you won't be able to read all the names. There are a lot of people.
Would you
Put them on the same lines and
or put them in a comment on the Zoom?
Yeah, can we put it in a comment in the Zoom? Can we brainstorm here? Thank you.
They will be going into a comment. All those who approve of exhausting the speakers list, say aye.
Aye.
All those who don't, say nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Next on our list is Senator Hill.
Thank you. I've come up with a little more extensive list of questions. I'm happy to have to spend time doing.
I think it's 5 minutes.
First question, I'll make it quick then. First question is for Braxton, Senator Dietz. You're the new director. And, my first question to you is, what experiences have you had with leadership? And, obviously I've seen you in the Senate as a colleague, but I just want to know what other experiences you could possibly have for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. Thank you, Senator Hill. So one of my proudest characteristics is that any position that I'm in, I lean in 110%. The senior year of my high school, I was president of my theater department. Along with a team of 7, we were able to quadruple funding and triple the department size. The department was pretty much dead before my team and I were able to take over that. Again, in Senate, pushing forward with that temporarily disabled student transportation program, and acting as a leader within this space, and also within the various offices throughout CSU that I've met with, if that answers your question.
Oh yes, it answers my question perfectly. Thank you. I yield. You know what? I'm gonna yield completely.
I was expecting like 6 questions. Okay, Associate Wilson?
Yes, I have a question for Ashton. Considering the past year, how do you believe that you would be a good you would be a good candidate for this position?
Considering the past year in terms of
Considering the past year and the many mess ups within your department.
and by mess ups, you mean
If I were to define it, it would honestly take a while.
That's pretty ad hominem, if I say so myself.
I can't define it if that would be helpful. That would include not being open about where the finances were going. It would include not communicating whatsoever.
Point of personal privilege, the position of ASCSU accountant is one that is kind of very separate from ASCSU, as accounting is in and of itself a separate entity. It has to be kept a separate entity due to disclosure agreements and the way things go. The last year's mess ups, as you say, would not be attributable to Director Duffield, because he was the accountant, and accountants quite literally just do math and they put it in, and we mess up a lot, yes, but we also know how to fix our mess ups really, really fast, but we are not the ones who disclose those mess ups, because those are given to our higher ups. Thank you, I yield.
Okay, let me rephrase. How would you believe that your past experience would help you in this role?
Yeah, so I think I got to work with Jess and Jesse this year, really to get the basics of the quality processing system that we use on campus. Pretty much just understanding how that works with invoices, disbursement vouchers is very crucial to the role of Director of Finance. So I think with my experience counting as best as I can, I think I'll be a great fit for Director of Finance. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, I yield.
Next, we have Senator Kelly.
I'd like to motion to approve this question.
Second. All those who approve say aye.
Aye.
All those who do not approve say nay. Any abstentions? Hearing none, we move into a period of voting. I will ask everyone to please step out. Start with first raise placard. Please wait till the doors close.
Okay, I feel pretty confident in everyone's ability to perform the task that they are assigned to in the executive cabinet. I'm voting yes to ratify them, and yeah, no, I hope all your days going good. I yield my time.
There you go. Senator Snyder.
I believe these candidates will best represent ASCSU and the CSU community as a whole. I'm voting yes. I will also be voting yes to ratify them and if there's yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's about it. I yield the rest of my time.
Next, we have Senator Kelly.
Motion for this question.
Second. No remorse for anyone on the speakers list. I'm not writing names.
We do have someone on Zoom.
Point of clarification, do we have quorum?
Alrighty, quorum was called. So can I? Yes. You just- Yeah.
Sorry, Lana, still current sheet. You have to go through your quorum process as quorum has been called, but you can still stay in a provisional state. So if you voted yes to keep them on their cabinet, it would still be effective until you all had another official Senate session.
Yeah.
The level of quorum has changed drastically from the 52nd Senate to the 53rd. There are many, many less senators in this body than there was in the 52nd. So call for quorum.
Alrighty. Alrighty, so I don't even know how to do this. Yeah, I was like, I was wondering where it's, huh?
I would say just take attendance and then count up
Yeah.
the people that were present at the beginning, because those are the amount of senators that you have now.
This is so
And push it.
So tasty.
I'd also like to add on to the fact that some senators have left, but their associates are still here. So
Nice. You still count as having the voting rights.
that's fantastic.
Here, this is my computer. Yeah.
Also, point of
Point of clarification, this is also a reminder to do your Duolingo if you have a streak. I almost forgot mine, so keep it up.
I'll share with you the last year. So you can see how no, it's fine.
Alrighty, we're gonna start calling attendance right now. So we all please listen up for your names and all that jazz.
Senator Schmidt. Here. Senator Hayes.
Here.
Senator Meany. Here. Senator. Senator Doyle, parliamentarian Doyle.
Here.
Senator Barrett. Senator Ford.
Here.
Senator Lutz.
Here.
It's not a good thing to call it.
Senator Johnson.
I know. It's still not a good thing.
Senator Bashar. Associate Winston. Senator Bakari. Senator Tlaib. Senator Eby. Here. Senator Lowe.
Here.
Associate Wilson.
Here.
Senator Salazar. Senator Oswald. Here. Associate Lenonsi.
Present.
Senator Hill.
Not present.
Senator Melchior. Senator Schuler. Senator Chacon.
Senator Leon, Senator Snyder,
Present.
Senator Taylor,
Here.
Associate Abhinavi, Senator Shasta.
We've done roll. I'm gonna count them and compare them to the people who were here. And we will see if we have quorum. Was it, if anyone wants to motion for about a 2-minute recess to count.
That would be a motion for a 2-minute recess.
Do I hear any dissent? Hearing none, we will enter a 2-minute recess.
Oh my God.
Okay, you gotta. Let's return to our seats. Oh, I would have hated myself.
They would have just done provisional. So
Yeah, but then you would have had to call it because they can't do any work. Okay. So we do have quorum with everyone who's here. So we do have quorum to continue this session. We are still in a period of discussion and
There
debate.
was a motion to previous question.
I'm lying, okay. Do we Anyway, all the approval of motion to.
Second.
Well, wait, okay, yeah. You're
Senator Kelly made the motion right before.
right, her. I'm tired. All those who disapprove, say nay. All abstentions? The ayes have it. We now move into a period of voting.
I motion to approve these candidates with unanimous consent.
Do I hear any dissent? Hearing none, these candidates are approved with unanimous consent.
I'm so tired.
We should keep going. I was like, keep it up.
Okay, oh yeah. First, congratulations, sorry. And can the Chief Justice please administer the oath of office?
If you could all raise your right hand. I state your name. Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear.
To defend and uphold.
To defend and uphold.
The rules and regulations.
The rules and regulations.
Set forth by the Constitution.
Set forth by the Constitution.
Of the Associated Students of Colorado State University.
Of the Associated Students of Colorado State University.
And will rightfully perform the duties of my office.
And will rightfully perform the duties of my office.
To the best of my ability.
To the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, y'all. With that, I'm going to move past the elections of committee chairs due to not having sufficient people. I feel to table. Okay, I'm going to table the elections of committee chairs. Without as many people here, I was informed though that we do need to do the accessibility caucus chair election because they have work to do over summer. So I will open up a period to nominate or self-nominate. Senator Amy.
I nominate Senator Love.
Do you accept this nomination? Okay. Good. Do I hear any other nominations or self-nominations for accessibility? Oh, I'm sorry. I have one thing I need to do. Can I have President Wong please come up to the front?
Yeah.
There's one thing I have to do before this. I'm sorry.
It's the passing of the
Point of personal privilege, I also spell my name R-U-A.
Do you want this?
I can take the. Hello, y'all. For those who don't know me, my name is Rob Long. I'm the outgoing ASCSU president. So per tradition in ASCSU, this is the passing off of administrations. So President-elect DeSalvo and Vice President-elect Silverheart, would you mind coming up? I have three things up here. This is the president's sword. It was made by a former ASCSU president. He was a smithing major or something along like mechanical engineering, and made the sword. And the symbolic meaning of the sword is to defend the students against the administration. I'm not joking. That's it. So President DeSalvo, I bestow upon you the president's sword. Thank you. This green box is the vice president's box. It's a tradition to pass this off to the next vice president. Basically, it's just full of secrets that are only for the eyes of the vice president. And each vice president leaves their legacy in this box. So Vice President Silverheart is now yours. Last but not least, my favorite one is the suitcase. This is multiple decades old by now. Many presidents have left their legacies in here. There's a lot of secrets in here. Say it
Does it
again.
not close anymore?
We don't have the combination, so don't close it. I don't, yeah, I don't know what it is. Maybe Christian knows.
You should.
But basically, this is it's very old. Multiple alumni have actually suggested getting a new suitcase. That might be something for you to do. But yeah, it's just kind of a symbol of, the continuity of ASCSU, the history of ASCSU, and it is now in your hands. So that is it. Did y'all do an oath of office yet? Okay, all right, well then, that is it.
As of right now, we're trying to get the accent on Rory's name. If y'all are wondering what that symbol of keys is, that's what we're trying to do right now. Any other?
Oh, wait, it's capital. Below the Y, it's on there. It's right below.
We did it. Alrighty, any more self-nominations or nominations for accessibility caucus chair? Hearing none, we move into, or I will ask Rory to come to the front and we will do presentation for 10 minutes and then move into a period of question and answer for 10 minutes.
Let me actually.
All right, hi all. For those who don't know me, my name is Rory. I use they, them, theirs pronouns. Before you start, sorry, can we silence the back?
I ask that anyone in this chamber to either quiet down their conversations or exit. Thank you.
All right, my name is Rory. I use they, them pronouns. I'm currently the senator for SEC. I am also graduating in August, and so I really wanted to spend my last few months in ASCSU making sure that the accessibility caucus is set up to be really successful. I was one of the co-authors on this bill, so I am hoping to be able to kind of steer this caucus in a way that will be really successful and help meet the needs of a lot of disabled students on campus. I think some of the strengths that I bring to this role, I have 3 years of experience working in education. I have worked in 6 through 12 classrooms as well as in higher ed. I'm really well connected with a lot of groups on campus, including like the CDSA fund through the SCC, which is going to be a really important resource for this committee in the fall. And I really just want to spend this summer making sure that like a lot of the like technical legwork is done. So whoever takes over the committee in August is really set up to be as successful as they possibly can be.
Usually we move into a 10-minute period of question and answer. Trying to get the first raise placard. I know like adequate discussion, Graham, I love you, but I'm gonna go to associate mountain.
Hello. This is a very new caucus, and have you looked at the job description? I know you wrote it, so.
Yes, I feel pretty confident that I know what this caucus is about because I wrote the bill for this caucus, so.
That is wonderful. That is spectacular. During this caucus's period of work, you will be reaching out to. Basically, what I'm asking is, how are you going to hold your caucus, and how are you going to make information known that this caucus is going to be happening over the summer?
So the caucus will be hybrid. I will just kind of use like social media to kind of help communicate that, as well as getting that on the SDC emailing list. Like just because it's summer, it doesn't mean that the SDC or Pride can't send out their emailing list. So they both have student staff for the summer. I also plan as well, I have connections with the Black Indigenous Teachers of Color student org who would also have a lot of vested interest in this. So I would just reach out to known partnerships I have on campus to kind of let them know this is happening, and then really focus in on like seeing for people who are able to stay during the summer, like communicating like and planning like a few days where we can actually go out and push all the buttons of it. And then kind of going from there, like using that and also just kind of like coordinating with like SDC to help do most of that. Does that answer your question?
It does. And then I'd like to exhaust the speakers list if there's anyone else on there.
Do I hear?
All right, I will amend my motion to previous question.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed, nay. Nay abstentions. We will now move into a period of discussion debate. May I please have Treasurer Lewis to pass on? Stop it. We will go into a period of discussion debate with the first raised placard, and I'll allow potential recruitment officer Bakari to go first.
Okay, hello, the newly appointed. We're back here. I firmly believe that this candidate is the perfect one for this role. I do believe they've had a lot of advocacy in the space, and they have a continuing mission to carry on the torch and pass that on. And they do great work in writing guides that I personally use, even like for my board meetings, which is kind of awesome. And with that, I would like to motion to.
Second.
Okay, so for previous question, does anyone here dissent and have something they would like to say? Because there was like 4 people who raised their hands, or was everyone just wanting to ask previous question? Everyone just wanted to ask previous question. Never mind then.
Alrighty,
Alexander on Zoom.
I was gonna ask previous question.
Okay.
perfect. Even get to the first question. Hold on. I got you. And next, all those who approve to move to previous questions say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. Any abstentions? Do I carry consent to approve this candidate in unanimous consent? Hearing none, this candidate is approved in unanimous consent.
Don't back.
I will ask Terry Doyle to go get.
When they get in here.
But
Give them their moment.
It's been a long night.
Give them their moment.
You need to get like sketches or something.
I do. Yeah, Chief Justice, please administer the oath of office. Please do.
I state your name,
I, Rory Lowe,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to defend and uphold
to defend and uphold
the rules and regulations
the rules and regulations
set forth by the Constitution
set forth by the Constitution
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
of the Associated Students of Colorado State University
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
and will rightfully perform the duties of my office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Just a point of information, I believe. Why was the election of committee chair was tabled?
I felt like we didn't have enough people and that it deserved more like attention from like all the senators, because there's many senators, commissioners, and associates who aren't here right now who could want or have the opportunity to run for a chair position. And I want to make sure that anyone who wants to run did not have to stay until 10 o'clock to run. And so having it being the first thing at the next Senate session is what I plan to do. And with that, since Bill 5301 is my own bill, I will be tabling it till next session, in which I will be calling adjournment and I'll be using the quorum attendance as ending roll call. if you don't, have good finals.
Please no. I need to make sure that Faraz, please, I left all my stuff in Elijah's office. Okay, that's what I was assuming. Because normally her office is unlocked.
Yeah, they said to leave it on when we left.
Who does the Senate attendance on the website? Who's in charge of that?
The Senate membership.
No, or not attendance, Senate like membership.
That's front desk.
Okay.
The front desk does have a list right now. I sent it to them.
I mean, mine's still the same for a while.
Claudia and Parker.
Yes.
What?